Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on July the 6th, 2016. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me as always, Spunky Man.
Oh my, caffeine rage. You make it sound so dirty when you say it like that.
Spunky Man. On today's show, we'll be talking about the games that we played this week. We're going to be discussing all of the major PC controllers and giving you our thoughts on them. Counter-Strike Go, gambling, YouTubers promoting their own gambling site. We'll have our weekly community corner, and we're going to be discussing our special curator group that we've created.
You mean Rage? I created?
I helped. I posted the first curation.
Yeah, you posted two.
I posted two. I haven't had a chance to post anymore. How are you, Rage?
Doing all right. It's been kind of a blah day. Just not sleeping that well. But
I had a very hectic day. Very busy.
Until you had a client cancel, then you were just saying they're making farting noises for, an hour?
Like 20 or 30 minutes. I'm
just imagining you sitting there in your office chair, spinning around, head back on.
I was doing exactly that. I give clients 10 minutes unless they tell me otherwise. And then at the 15-minute mark, I send them a text. Some of them don't. But
and then you fire up Factorio.
Half the time. But no, it's like, hey, if you were still coming, there's no point in coming today because you've missed too much of your session. We can reschedule. So I did that, and then I just leaned back in the chair and just started making farting noises in my mouth and blowing into my hands. And 10 or 15 minutes later of that, I was like, what am I doing with my life right now? I should go do some things that I need to do during this time.
Well, how do you know you don't need to do that? I mean, that could be your release. That could be your coping mechanism for being a Nazi, you know?
Usually that's just alcohol and video games, but who knows? Maybe I needed that today. I've got a couple of rough clients. I saw them both today.
Okay, now I'm having another mental image that I think I have to share.
Okay.
Hitler in his bunker, spinning around in an office chair going...
That's amazing. If we have anyone who listens that can do fan art, I would love to see fan art of that. Oh.
Things have already gone off the rails, and it's only been, 3 minutes?
A couple of minutes, yeah. So I pre-ordered, not pre-ordered, gosh.
Spanking time!
I ordered my RX 480 today.
No, you said you pre-ordered it. Spanking time.
Well, I ordered it, but they were already out of stock by the time I ordered it, so I'm on the list for the next batch that comes.
So you pre-ordered it?
Not really, because it's already out.
Okay, to be fair, pre-ordering a physical item, not nearly as bad as digital.
Yeah.
And plus, you know what you're getting at this point. It's not really pre-ordering, but spanking time nonetheless.
I waited until all the benchmarks and the reviews came out. I was considering waiting since the 1060 is rumored to be releasing tomorrow. I mean, we're recording this on a Wednesday, so normally record on Tuesday. But anyways, it's supposed to come out tomorrow, which would be yesterday if you're listening to this on Friday. But that's just a rumor. I don't think it's been confirmed anywhere. And the 1060 is rumored to have basically the same specs as the RX 480. A couple different things here and there, but generally it's supposed to clock in at around a 970 or a 980, which is what the 480 does. So I was like, I'm not going to wait just to be brand loyal because I'm not brand loyal.
Yeah, honestly, if I had a choice on NVIDIA versus AMD, same price point, same specs, I think I would go AMD, not for brand loyalty to AMD, but the fact that NVIDIA fucks people over too much.
What do you mean?
The fact that they locked down PhysX completely now.
Right, yeah, that sucks.
It used to be up until a point that you could actually have a NVIDIA card and an AMD card in the same machine and run PhysX off the NVIDIA card and still run the AMD card as your primary video driver. They broke that in a driver update. Trying to think of all the other bullshittery they do. Oh, GameWorks, as in, yeah. If you have a NVIDIA card, it works. NVIDIA kind of pisses me off.
Shadowplay actually is broken on older cards now. I've got the 750, which is I think
Shadowplay is not
ago.
Shadowplay is not a feature that it would be useful for me, obviously, because I'm a YouTuber, but it's so inconsistent because I keep hearing it's broken, it's fixed, it's broken, it's fixed. It's so fucking schizophrenic.
The one thing I like about Shadowplay is that it just captures whatever is running through the video buffer on your graphics card, which means that certain games that normally are difficult to capture because of whatever, sometimes games are running in a format that disagrees with your capture software or whatever, if you're not using actual capture card.
The capture software just goes...
Yeah, but it spins around in its chair. But Shadowplay just captures whatever's coming through the video buffer. So it gets everything. That was the one thing I liked Shadowplay for. But, they constantly break it, and now it doesn't work at all on older cards. I think you have to have an 8 series card for it to work now. It hasn't worked on my 750 for months. But there's also the rumor that the 1060 is not going to be DirectX 12 compatible, which makes no sense to me.
That's stupid as hell if that's true.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, but sometimes companies do stupid things. Like maybe it's using an old architecture or something that makes it incompatible, and they just crammed some more RAM or something into it to,
I wonder if it'll be a full 4 gigs of RAM this time.
I don't know.
Or do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
One of the NVIDIA cards, and I'm blanking on which one because honestly it's number soup after a while.
Right.
It was advertised as 4 gigs of video RAM, but in reality it was 3.5, and then they had another separate 0.5 gigs of RAM.
That's
so
weird.
It would appear as 4 gigs, but games didn't like it because, breaking up RAM like that makes games go, or more likely.
Yeah, even when you use SLI or Crossfire, that's the thing that people, think that using 2 video cards will double your video card performance, but it doesn't because both cards can't access, all 8 gigs of RAM. They basically get their own RAM, which is still in addition, you've got 2 things working instead of 1, but it's not like it doubles your performance by adding all the things together. It's just 2 cards working in tandem. And if you use with Crossfire, if you use 2 different AMD cards, it goes with the weaker card as the
the fleet can only move as fast as the slowest ship.
Correct. So you might actually not be getting any performance gains at all, or any performance boosts. I guess a game, whatever. You might not be getting any extra performance at all if you've got 1 really crappy card and then 1 good card, because your good card will be hamstrung down to the crappy card specs. But that's neither here nor there. I prefer to run single GPU. There's too many problems that can come out of running dual GPUs. So.
Yeah, I originally built my system to do Crossfire, so I have overkill on my power supply due to it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've talked about this before. My video card, for some reason, was really popular with Bitcoin miners, and it shot the price of it up, like $75 or $100 at the time.
Right.
And it just wasn't worth it. So I'm running a lot more powerful power supply than what I really need to.
I could go Crossfire or SLI in my machine. I've got the power supply for it. But, I bought the power supply with the intention of upgrading, throughout time. So it's a bit over the top anyways. So I could do it, but I don't want to, at least at this point.
Well, plus it seems like video cards are getting more efficient.
Yeah, video cards are getting a lot more efficient.
Because for a while there, it was more just, raw power and damn the efficiency.
Yeah.
Just try to make it so the card doesn't bake itself half to death, well, most of the time.
Right. And for anyone wondering, I ordered the 8 gig version of the 480, which I don't think is necessary at this point.
Yeah, it's more future-proofing at this point than anything else. AAA games are going to be requiring 8 gigs before too long.
Yeah, I did that for future-proofing and then for modding. Because I have I mean, I don't really care much for visual mods, but I also don't really have the video card to support too many visual enhancement mods for most games. So it would be interesting to just play with some of that stuff, like, for example, in Skyrim or in Fallout, because those are huge mod-heavy games.
Make your own damn enhanced version.
Yeah, exactly.
With blackjack and hookers.
Absolutely. So yeah, welcome to the PC portion of the podcast.
Also known as... Oh, are we talking PC as personal computer or PC as in what PC gamer thinks nowadays?
Personal computer.
Okay.
So, yeah. There's that. Do we want to get into the games that we played? Or because I kind of got aimless once I started talking about...
You get aimless? No, really.
I should have it next week, not before the podcast. The estimated ship date is for the, I believe the 12th, which is a Tuesday, so I won't get it before we record. And even if I do get it miraculously on Tuesday,
you're not going to be pulling your system apart on a Tuesday.
Yeah. I
will go to Tennessee and kick your ass if you do that.
I mean, yeah. Not only is it work that I'm going to have to do, but if something screws up, then we're kind of SOL for recording that week because my laptop is sad and old and weak. I mean, it would do. We'd be
sending out the Franken episode.
Yeah, well, we've got two. We have two Franken episodes. We've gotten quite a bit of Franken episode content over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it says just how much we stay on topic, huh?
I've been cutting out things a lot more to keep us closer to the 3-hour mark.
I wonder if people are thankful for that or not.
I don't know. I'm thankful for it. It makes my render times faster. It takes a long time to render a 3-hour podcast.
It takes a long time to render a 3-hour video, even if it's just a static image of a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah. I rendered an 8-hour video this week. I'll talk about it at the end of the podcast when we talk about what's coming up on our channel. But yeah. Fun times.
You have an 8-hour thing? People complained when I had an hour-long video, saying it was too damn long.
Well, okay.
No, wait. Is it just a loop of you spinning around in your chair going...
No, that would be amazing. I might do that. No, it's a video of a whole bunch of footage that I've used before as like background stuff. I just crammed it all together into one video. And basically it's going to be like, hey, do you want to support my channel? Do you want to support the podcast, but you don't have money to give to us on Patreon? Just go watch this video over and over again. It's 8 hours long. It's going to be filled with ads. It's literally no content. Just play it in the background, mute your PC, and support the podcast.
I wonder if AdSense is going to like that or not.
I don't know.
Because they can be rather finicky about that sort of thing.
Who knows? We'll give it a shot. I don't expect anybody to watch it. I'm not even going to upload it as part of the regular schedule. I'm going to throw it up there.
Wait, you have a regular schedule?
Oh, shut up. I told you the other day I had 9 days worth of content loaded on my channel already. That's been a couple of days ago, so we're down to like 7 days. But still, I'm doing better. Or at least trying.
Yeah, well, I can still pick on you for it.
Yeah, you can.
Hey, you would worry about me if I stopped picking on you about your channel content.
I would. I would wonder if you were like mad at me or something.
Or who the hell is this on the call?
Who's being so nice to me? All right, let's get away from all this garbage and let's go talk about games that we played this week.
Okay. Time for me to put my rant pants on.
All right, put your
because you see the first game on the list and you actually brought this up. What is this doing on the list?
Yeah, I asked you why this was on the list. Why is it on the list?
After 700 videos, I fucking give up on a game.
Man, why? What did it do to you that made you give up on Last Remnant?
Oh, first of all, it's the fucking time investment. Trying to do 3 series, plus the podcast, plus the Sunday Sampler, and still have time to grind on the Last Remnant. It's just too much. And something that I said in a offhand comment to you, kind of after I said it, made me really sit down and think. Remember when I said, I'm trying to decide what I want to do tonight. Do I want to grind on the last remnant or have fun? Or something to that extent.
I thought you were making a joke, but you were actually being serious.
No, I was being serious. I hated grinding on the last remnant, partly because of the battle system. The battle system feels way too random for it to be strategic. If you've never played the last remnant, basically, you have, let's just call them squadrons, but they're called unions in this because, it's a Japanese game and they have to change the name of every fucking thing.
I wonder if that's just a mistranslation.
I have no idea.
I don't know, it doesn't matter. Whatever, carry on.
But you don't have direct control. You're given a choice of between usually 3 to 5 choices for their commands. And depending on what the union's composition is, it can be literally all useless commands. Or they could never do what you want. I lost at least 2 or 3 boss battle attempts because a union wasn't hurt enough to want to heal itself. Now, never mind that the boss walks over and bitch slaps it for about 2/3 of its health. They think, we're fine at about 50% health. We don't need to heal. And it just annoyed the fuck out of me. On top of that, there's stats in that game. I have no idea what the hell they do.
That is very true.
There's no documentation for it. I've looked online trying to figure out what some of these stats do, and there is nothing. And also some of the different troops, the different individual characters have radically different stat names. For example, one stat will be gluttony. Well, is it a good thing I'm leveling that? Is it a bad thing? What? But in the same position on another unit, they could have management or bravery. Which sounds like good things to level, but, who the fuck knows with this game? Because, I have no idea. It's not telling me what these stats are doing. The manual is fucking useless. Which, it at least has a manual, which is, something more than what I could say for a good majority of games these days. But this is also from the time where, physical PC releases were still, existent outside of MMOs. And then we get to the main character who I just want to punch in the throat and take his sister as the main character instead because she is at least likable.
She's more intelligent than him, too.
A
Rush
brick is more
Sykes.
intelligent than Rush.
Rush Sykes. I always thought he had a funny name.
Well, at least his first name is apt because he rushes stupidly into various situations and usually causes more trouble than what he solves. I have no idea why everybody around him thinks that he's so important outside of the whole MacGuffin that it doesn't reveal itself until literally just before I quit the game that, he's has a special power because, he's a fucking JRPG protagonist. Of course he has a special power. It's just so many issues with this game. I may go back and try to finish it just because I'm stubborn like that. But I got stonewalled by this one particular section where you have to defeat 6 bosses in these different camps. And I'm at the point where I must have either built my party wrong, which means I'm going to have to grind for the better part of a week nightly to fix it, just rank up new people. I'm doing it wrong, which is very possible that, I'm just not good at the game. Especially considering I have no idea what the fuck the battle system is doing. That's entirely possible. Or it's just the randomness of the game, and I'm at the point where the randomness is not in my favor. Mm-hmm. So I'm just hoping to come up with a winning possibility, and I'm just too low a level, which means more grinding, at least probably a day's worth of grinding. Which I'm hating the grinding. And what's ironic about this is before I started playing this, went around online and seeing what people were talking about it, and they were talking about how The Last Remnant is a grindless JRPG. Bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would think that. I love The Last Remnant, and I disagree with certain things about what you're saying, but it is definitely not a grindless RPG or JRPG. Not even for a second.
Yeah,
At least half of your game time is spent grinding, if not more.
Yeah, and the thing is that maybe if I was doing my normal length episodes, 20 to 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on a long episode, I would be able to get far enough ahead that I would be able to spend the time grinding. But that would also mean that I'd be spending a year on this game. And I didn't want to do that. So I went the other direction and was doing longer episodes, which meant I was hitting the walls faster, which caused my time problem. So partly the time problem is my fault, but at the same time, I have other games that I'm far more interested to play. So fuck The Last Remnant, at least for now.
Well, I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse, but The Last Remnant currently has 165 players on Steam, and Evolve currently has 81 players on Steam.
I will say that for our curator group, a little teaser for the last portion of the podcast, I was thinking about putting Evolve as a game that we play.
Oh.
An associated game. Maybe that could be the associated games, just the list of whipping boys, Evolve and Battleborn for now.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you did not like The Last Remnant. I spoke very highly of it. I
think it was just a combination of the grinding getting to me after a while, because I was hitting that wall so often that I wasn't able to build up enough episodes in the backlog to be able to spend the time grinding. The fact that I absolutely fucking hated Rush. And they had this whole backstory about why he's so protective of his sister, and I assume that's supposed to make us be more endearing to him. It just made me hate him more.
Yeah, I don't really like Rush. He's too tropey for me. I like the story as a whole. I like kind of campy, weird stuff like that. So
no, really?
Of course I'd like the story, but Rush as a character is way too tropey for me. But
Rush as a character, I want to just punch him in the throat and leave him on the side of the road and have a new main character. Can we have David as a main character? He sounds a lot more interesting.
David, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dave. I wanted Emma before she died. Spoiler, by the way. One time when he called David Dave, just for her to walk up, slap him across the face, and say, "It's David, you idiot."
I think that David finds that endearing. Like he really likes him. He's got a man crush on him. I think that's a good way to describe. Like they're bros. They're bros. It's a good way to describe their relationship.
I'm just wondering why anybody puts up with him. Because he causes far more trouble than what he solves or is really worth. And I quit right after the twist of Mr. Spiky Hair comes back. And they don't really say why. They make it all mysterious. But let's be honest, it's going to be remnants. I'm not saying it's remnants, but it's remnants. It's like aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. But yeah, as a mid-series replacement, I have my next game on the list.
Okay, let's
Victor
move
Vron.
on. Victor, is it? Well, it doesn't really matter. Never mind.
I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. They say it a few times in the hour and a half that I've played so far.
I haven't played it, so if they say it in the game, then that's correct. I just assumed it was pronounced Vran, Victor Vran.
I think it's Vron, but you know me and pronouncing names, so.
That's true, but just because, you usually get them wrong doesn't mean you can't get them right, so.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Absolutely.
Unless it's a 24-hour clock.
Then it's right once a day.
Or if it's digital.
Then it's never right because it's dead.
exactly. But Victor Vron or Vran or Van Helsing Light. This is an ARPG. I picked it up during the Steam Summer Sale, so I've talked about this recently, or at least brought it up. It's an interesting take on the ARPG genre. It's doesn't have the point or it does have an option to use the click to move system like other ARPGs, but I'm actually using WASD to move it to WASD. It's actually making it a little bit more immersive. It's making it feel a lot more like a RPG, more like the old Dragon Age Origins. You know how you'd move in that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really enjoying it. It has a good movement system, a lot of dodging. Trying to think of there's a weapon system on it that I haven't quite unlocked yet. Where different weapons have, or I should say I have unlocked it, but I haven't done enough with it to really grasp it. Where different weapons have different strengths and weaknesses, and you're encouraged to have several different weapons. Each weapon, I think, has 3 attacks tied to it. Then you could have 3 other moves, just general moves. And then they have a whole demon power system, which is trying to think of a good way to put it. The best way I can actually put this is like Rage in World of Warcraft for warriors, where as you're attacking something, you're building up this power bar. And once it fills up, you're able to use one of the demon powers. And different weapons build it up faster, and some actually have an innate generation for it. In the different classes, there's technically different classes based on the outfit that you choose about, I want to say, 30 minutes into the game. That changes a bit your gameplay, makes it so that weapons are weaker, weapons are stronger, you're able to cast the demon powers more frequently because you're naturally regenerating the rage. It's an interesting take on it so far. It reminds me a lot of The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, which is the reason why I picked it up, because Van Helsing 3, which would be the next one in the series that I haven't played, wasn't reviewing all that well, and people were complaining about the ending. So, it kind of put me off on it. So I was looking for something else to play that was sort of like it, because I liked Van Helsing. So I picked this up.
Right. I mean, not my, you know how I feel about these sort of games. Not my favorite thing, but
yeah,
Van Helsing was okay.
Well, this is a little bit different on that it has a full 3D camera, so you're able to spin it around. You're not dealing with the general ARPG problems of camera.
Okay, well that's nice.
And you can jump.
Ooh, that's not something that you get very often in
ARPGs. I got to that point in my recording test. It's like, I could jump, really? Because I played like 5 minutes of it just to make sure that my recording software liked it, and I was getting good frames on it. And it's actually running a lot better than Van Helsing ever did, which was my primary problem with the Van Helsing series.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll put it on my wish list. Maybe if it's cheap enough on the next sale.
The first episode from when we're recording this comes out tomorrow. So you'll be able to see some gameplay there if you want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll watch you play it and just get a feel for it. But
I will say that it comes into its own a little bit later. I played, like I said, about an hour and a half, which was about 3 episodes worth so far.
Right. Okay.
It does have. I'm pretty sure that the voice actor for the main character is Geralt. But he sounds very bored. The voice acting isn't the huge selling point.
Right. Well, sometimes even in The Witcher, Geralt sounds very bored. Although I think that's in line with what's going on. So.
You Sodoma.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been bad so far. I've been actually really enjoying it, I should say. I shouldn't... saying it hasn't been bad so far implies that, it's not very good, but it has a good flow to combat. and they have a disembodied voice that I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on with that. It just called The Voice, or at least that's what he's calling himself. Probably going to be the bad guy now that I really think about it, but or someone that is a double agent or something. But it'll be a fun ride nonetheless.
That's what she said.
Oh my!
Oh yeah. Okay. What's next on your list?
Plastiland, and this is the game you're going to have to click a link for.
Oh, I've already got it open and I've been looking at it going, what is this? Am I high right now?
Basically, it is almost a stop-motion version of the original Lemmings game.
Okay.
It's think of just the old Lemmings, which was, if you never encountered the Lemmings games, what the fuck? What's wrong with you?
Lemming games are awesome.
Yeah, the Lemmings is a strange puzzle game that really doesn't have a real genre to it beyond just puzzle game. It's a weird thing. Essentially, you're given a set amount of creatures called lemmings and a set amount of powers that you can bestow upon them. Digging down, building bridges, that sort of thing. And you're supposed to get so many lemmings to the end of the level to complete it. Very simple in concept, but can get very tricky. Plastiland is essentially take that a general idea, take really all the ideas from Lemmings, and instead of having little cute green-haired creatures, just make everything out of clay, which style-wise actually looks fairly good. Problems with this game: it's a blatant mobile port, to the point that it has tap to start. A lazy mobile port.
Nice. So they didn't even change it to click.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love those.
Yeah, and options is non-existent. You have the option to turn on and off music, which is indicative of a rather lazy mobile port. And it also has the PC tax on it, where it is more expensive on PC than it is on mobile.
I'm going to look this up on Google Play. I'm assuming it's on Google Play.
Yeah, it's on Google Play. If I recall correctly, it's $5 on Google Play, but it's $7 on Steam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
But it does have some features that are kind of nice, just because it's a mobile port. One of the problems with Lemmings, the original game, was that it was a little hard to tell which direction a lemming was going whenever you were giving it its power, and that it could be a little tough to click on the exact lemming that you wanted. On this, you were able to click on the, I can't remember whatever they called it, but we'll just call it clay ball, because that's what all these things are, and they change their form based on what power you're giving them. I'm using power as sort of a general catch-on term, because in Lemmings it's just different abilities, but in this it's actually changing their form. And it slows down time to basically a crawl. I mean, it doesn't pause completely, but it's just really, really slow. And it shows the direction things going, and it has the mobile interface, circle of powers that you could bestow upon it, which actually works rather well on PC. So it's one of those times that it's a mobile port, and it definitely could use a little bit more polish, but it's not a terrible mobile port. It's just lazy.
Speaking of mobile ports, my quick jaunt to Google Play found me a new mobile game to buy and play. It's called Station Manager. It's about managing a train station.
Uh-oh. Well, looking for a new co-host.
I love trains, okay? I don't have a problem, I swear.
You could stop at every station along the way.
Absolutely. I can stop at every station I want to.
But, like I said, Plastiland, it's not a terrible game, but it's not a great game either, just because of the problems with it. The fact that you have to adjust your volume in the Windows sound mixer is just annoying.
Yeah, that's stupid. But I mean, on a phone, you adjust the entire phone's volume in order to adjust that stuff. So, yeah, lazy. That sucks.
Yeah, it's something to look for a sale, because if I recall correctly, during the Steam Summer Sale, it went pretty low. That's when I was actually doing the recording. So that it falls into the category of for fans, but pick it up during a sale because otherwise you're getting fleeced because you're getting on Steam, that's the thing that pisses me off.
So it's a game that, it's like, I'd pay $1 for that. That's worth $1.
Yeah, it's worth it's worth $2 or $3, maybe $5 on a phone. Where it's actually developed for.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that's the price for it.
On Google Play it was $4.70, which seems a little odd, but.
Oh, well, now I looked, it was right at the $5 mark, so maybe they have some sort of deal or something going on, or who knows. But yeah, it's just the weird PC tax. Just never get that.
Right. Okay. Are you going to talk about the last game on your list?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit because we're going to be playing it this week anyway.
Yeah.
War Thunder. I've been looking for a bit of a replacement for World of Warships after it pissed me off with its broken client for me. And don't get me wrong, I actually enjoyed World of Warships for the most part. It's just their client was so broken for my system. I got times where it would drop down to 15 FPS for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, you also were the only one out of our group that the game would just randomly and regularly crash on you.
Yeah.
None of the rest of us had that. I don't think my game client ever crashed. And then
and I had it
occasionally.
At times like once a night it would crash. Or multiple times a night, I should say. I'm pretty sure it happened several times at one point.
The last time it happened several times, and that's why you were like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and it would do this weird thing where it would hit a 15 FPS cap for some reason. I have no idea why. And it would always happen, when I would have to really have those frames. Torpedoes coming in. Here, have an FPS of 15, so everything is really hard to follow.
Yeah, good luck.
So, I've been thinking about a few games, and I'm pretty sure it was Jim that was playing War Thunder recently. So, after my data cap reset, because War Thunder is a rather hefty download.
Yeah, especially when you have the problem that I had.
Yeah, and especially for a free-to-play game, because it is right at 12 gigs, which is pretty heavy for a free-to-play game. I've been having a lot of fun with it, actually. I will say I enjoy aviation far more than I do tanks, but I think it might be just that I know how to fly a plane. I'm used to flying planes in games, especially when on the more arcadey side of War Thunder, which they do get rather realistic, or very realistic, I should say, if you turn on all the options and go into the realism mode. But I'm playing arcade because, I'm just getting used to the game.
Yeah.
But I know how to play arcade flyer, fairly easily. Not 100% sure how to handle tanks exactly. So I've been struggling a little bit with it. Yeah. I mean, I could drive the tank, but, the tactics, that's where it gets me. And it's something that probably just watching a couple YouTube videos will fix without too much of a problem. It's just sitting down and doing it, but I'm enjoying flying more than I'm tanks, so I tend to lean on flying more. And plus, I got the free premium plane for flying.
Yeah, I played. I know that World of Tanks and War Thunder employ two different mechanics for damage models and stuff, but the tactics are relatively similar. And I played World of Tanks a lot a couple of years ago. Like in World of Warships, I got to like the 6th or the 7th tier. In World of Tanks, I had multiple tier 10s. So, I mean, aside from learning the new damage model, because War Thunder uses a much more realistic damage model than World of Tanks, which is based more on an HP system. Aside from learning that, I think that I would probably enjoy the tanks more just because I would be more competent at it. But I've played plenty of arcade flight games as well. I mean, the Ace Combat series is a huge arcade flight game. I played World of Warplanes a bit. So I was going to play it this week, but for some reason it kept telling me that it had a corrupted download whenever. So I downloaded and I installed the launcher on Steam, and then you have to launch the launcher and update it. And it would get halfway through its update and say that there was a corrupted file and it couldn't update. So I tried, the regular Steam thing where it's like check the integrity of the data files, and I uninstalled it and reinstalled it on Steam, which Steam
delete
kept
System 32.
Yes, absolutely. I did that. No, but so I went in.
Have you tried installing Windows 10? I heard that helps.
Oh, you're a joker, you. But so anyways, I uninstalled and reinstalled the game a couple of times, and for some reason, it just kept giving me this corrupt data file when I downloaded it through Steam. So I had to go to the actual website, download it directly from them, and then add it to Steam so that I could launch it through Steam. So technically, Steam says I've played the game for 20 hours this week. That's not true. It's just been sitting on the launcher for that long.
I've seen you playing, and it's like, oh well, this will be a good transition game for us.
Nope,
and I've been playing, and I have been playing it. So
yeah, I'll probably play some tonight because I'm actually going to get a chance to edit tomorrow instead of having to edit it tonight. So I'll probably play some tonight. Maybe just start editing because I want to play it Friday for Friday Night Friend Zone. So I need to be prepared at least a little bit.
Yeah, the damage modeling is interesting. It's very easy to one-shot a tank with the right hit. The way it does the damage modeling is that it'll impact and then the shell will fragment and then it'll damage the components inside, and you lose your crew. That tank is gone.
Yeah. Poor tank.
Yeah. I would say it would live, but no, it won't.
No, it won't. So, yeah. We'll probably talk more about it next week once I've actually had a chance to play and we can have some back and forth. But right now, it's like, well, this is stupid.
Yeah, it's your turn to have the client problems.
Yep. Oh, well. If that's the case, then you can just play War Thunder and I will play World of Warships again.
Or we could just go to a different game.
We could try World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, or one of the million other free games that are on Steam.
Fire Up Mech Warrior.
Oh, I was in the Mech Warrior beta, back a couple of years ago when it was a closed beta.
Maybe let's put it this way.
Alpha.
My computer killed itself. Then I got into beta. It's like, well, fuck.
It's a fun game, but I've actually never played it on my desktop. I've only ever played it on my laptop because I didn't have my desktop at the time. And it was amazing, but it was way too much for my laptop to handle.
Yeah, and it seems like the player base for Mech Warrior is not exactly there anymore. They've everything that I've heard, they've done some things on the store side of things that just drove away the player base. For the pay model.
Oh, okay.
Have the premium mech be pretty much a pay-to-win thing. And then when it eventually gets rolled into, be able to buy it with the free-to-play currency, they nerf it to hell.
Right.
And that drove off a lot of people.
Well, I'm installing it right now, so I'll find out for next week. See how much has changed since the beta, because when I played it, they didn't have the cash shop. It was only the rotation of free mechs, and then once you leveled up enough, you could customize them with parts that you could buy with the in-game currency, but there was no cash shop at the time.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, they've changed quite a bit of it. Not sure if it's for the better, though, if you listen to some of the reviews. Maybe that'll be something that we could play as well.
So, is it my turn?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really have a lot to say about War Thunder. It's the damage modeling is interesting, and it seems like, at least in the low ranks on arcade, a lot of people like to go kamikaze.
Right.
I should say in the aircraft. Because I've had several people get a good few shots on them, and they'll just bank around and ram me.
Prepare for ramming speed.
Or, if it's not the person I'm shooting at, one of his allies that's heavily damaged will just come in and ram me, which I know I should probably be looking out for that and avoiding, but it's kind of hard to do and watch 360 degrees and then above and below you.
Yeah, ramming was actually employed in World War II, but only the actual kamikaze.
Yeah,
and then
of course.
There was one plane that was designed with ramming in mind, and so it had special steel reinforced slightly sharpened wings, so that whenever it would crash into a plane that had, that was constructed mostly of wood or, just weaker aluminum, it would essentially slice the wing off. But they were not very effective, as you can imagine, because if you don't get it perfect, you also crash your plane. So,
and plus, the added weight of the balls for the pilot to fly that thing, that had to make it less maneuverable.
Yeah, I want to say it was the Germans who did that, but it could have been the Japanese.
The Germans do something crazy? Nah.
The Germans did a lot of really cool stuff in World War II.
They had a jet fighter.
They did a lot of bad stuff too. But, the Germans were the only ones who had the jet fighter in the war, but all of the major countries in World War II had jet fighter prototypes around World War II.
Yeah, but their jet fighter technically saw combat, but if I recall correctly, and I know it's probably going to be Chemist that's going to be responding to this. I think that they saw combat, but they were very ineffective. They just didn't have the flight time, if I recall correctly.
No, that's not true. Those were the rocket planes.
That was the rocket planes.
The Me-262, which was the jet plane, was ineffective because Hitler was dumb. They originally designed
Hitler was just sitting in his bunker going...
They originally designed that plane as a fighter, which is what it would be great at, because no other plane at the time could keep up with it. The only Allied plane that could was the Mustang, the American P-52.
Yeah.
I believe it was the D version of the Mustang could keep up with it, but only in a dive. The Mustang could outdive the Messerschmitt. Otherwise, the jet plane was just too fast. But Hitler, in his infinite wisdom, decided that they should be used as bombers, strike bombers, instead of fighters. So they were weighed down by extra fuel and bombs, and then that made them no longer effective in aerial combat. So they were too little, too late. And by the time that Hitler finally was like, okay, use them as fighters, it was way too late.
Yeah, he was putting the cyanide pill in his mouth.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your history lesson this week from Jared. See, being a history nerd pays off sometimes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly why the jet plane was ineffective. I did know that it was for a rather stupid reason, but I can't remember which one. Because there was a lot of stupid things that the Germans did. Besides the whole, kill all the Jews.
There was a lot of stupid things that Hitler did. He was not the greatest military tactician. He made lots of mistakes.
Not really?
That cost him. But anyways, so let's talk about my games.
Yeah, get something a little less dark, I guess.
My first game is Convoy.
Which is never mind about being dark.
Which is a game that I purchased on the Steam sale, which I described as being fairly FTL-esque, except on the ground. So the general gist of the story is it's a roguelite. So you play it, or roguelite, whatever. You play it over and over again, essentially, to unlock the better starting equipment so that you can actually defeat the final boss and get off the planet. Your ship crash lands, and you're sent out as a convoy. Get
Convoy!
It? To go and find the things that you need to fix your ship so they can take off again and go into space. So you go out and you lead your convoy to go find the parts that you need to fix your ship and get off the planet. And there are quests that you have to complete, and you have to explore around on the planet. And the quests, except for the main ones, are all procedurally generated and in random places. And the main quests that you have to do are pseudo-random. The planet's divided up into regions that are controlled by different factions. So the missions that are tied to the factions will always be in their territory, but they can be in very different places. There is, as with all roguelites, there is a huge element of RNG that can quickly screw you over or help you get through. I did 3 runs in my playtime, like an hour and a half. So very, very quick. Even if you succeed, it's very quick to play through an entire run. So my first run, I died almost immediately. Just bad luck. I ran up against an enemy who was much, much more difficult to fight than I was prepared to, and immediately was killed. That run lasted maybe 5 minutes.
Sheesh.
My second
Not
run
really selling me on this game.
My second run went a bit better. but I made a poor decision. So whenever you find, people wandering around or run into randomly generated quests or whatever, you have options that you can choose. Talk to them, immediately fight them, screw
poorly.
them over. I did choose poorly. And so I got left. Bandits came and took our convoy and left us to starve and die. So that happened.
You got carjacked.
Basically, I trusted someone I shouldn't have trusted because he helped me. And then he was like, "Hey, I'm going to hitch a ride with you."
Hitch a ride!
Yeah. And then he had all of his buddies come and steal our trucks in the middle of the night and left us to die. So that
was an instant death, or?
Well, I mean, it was an instant failure, but it played on for a little bit. It's like, maybe someone will come rescue us, and then a little bit of time passes. You can't really do anything.
Is there a chance that could actually have basically a non-game over there?
I don't know. I had a similar sort of thing happen, but instead someone stole all of our fuel. And it was 30 seconds passed, and it's like, well, we're still out of fuel hanging out in our trucks. And then after another 30 seconds, it's like, oh, we see a trade convoy in the distance. Maybe we can radio for help. And so they came, and we bought fuel from them. So
essentially the FTL equivalent of running out of fuel and turning on the emergency beacon.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that, even if someone steals all your vehicles, there might be a way to get a new convoy and continue playing. But it didn't happen to me. We died in the desert. Then on my third run, in the first 10 minutes, I stumbled upon this random person who was like, "Hey, do you want to take a chance? If you pay this much and you can open one of 3 doors, and if you get the right one, we'll give you a prize." And I got a hover tank, a ridiculously overpowered hover tank, and that thing literally got me from the beginning of the game to the final boss. And it just made all combat a breeze because of how powerful it was. Basically, I just had to make sure that my main, it's called your MCV. It's basically your convoy lead. Mm-hmm. If it gets destroyed, you lose automatically because that's the vehicle you're in, and you die as the convoy commander.
So basically, I just had the hover tank.
I wish I could get in the hover tank. But so basically, I just had the hover tank kill everything, and then my other vehicles in my convoy kind of played defense, close range defense. And I just drive the hover tank around on the map and kill stuff with it. And then I got to the final boss, who I wasn't expecting. I should have been expecting him because it's a roguelite.
And it's a FTL clone. Well, not really clone, but the same idea.
It's FTL inspired. So I should have known that there'd be a ridiculously overpowered boss that I'd run into at the end, who absolutely just murdered me. And it's like, well, crap.
You have a hover tank. That's cute.
The final boss was a giant hover tank. It was the size of 10 of my hover tanks put together. So all in all, I died 3 times.
It's a hover mega tank.
Yeah. So all in all, I died 3 times, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I'm going to play it some more.
When you're out playing War Thunder or MechWarrior or playing with your trains.
It's a really good game to play on my laptop. It's not very resource intensive at all, and it's pretty much entirely mouse driven. There's a few keyboard shortcuts, but the game plays just fine with only the mouse. So that's great for my laptop. So it's a good game to play at the clinic when I have downtime. And
basically,
really,
that's what Stardew Valley is for me right now.
Yeah, I played the game for maybe an hour and a half. I got 3 runs in, and my run that I actually completed took me an hour. So you can play through very quickly if you're just trying to get to the main objective. And of course, once you actually get that far, it unlocks some new vehicles, so you can start to run with better vehicles and
persistent progression.
Right, and then beating certain mini bosses gains you more things, and etc. etc. So it's fun. I'm definitely gonna play it some more. The next game on my list, I'm actually going to skip this one and come back to it when we talk about the Steam controller. Talk about it in more detail. So next I'm going to go to the Orion Project. I played that a bit this week since they got all that sorted out. And I wasn't worried to for now. It's a lot like Orion Prelude. It's optimized better. Orion Prelude was a 32-bit, or ran at 32-bit. Dang it, help me out here. I'm losing my words. it was a 32-bit game, and the Orion Project is 64-bit, so it can use more.
Oh, yeah, well, you were
so...
using the right words. I wasn't sure what you wanted me to say there.
Sorry.
I was just saying you were thinking, wait, we gotta add to this.
Sorry. But so it runs in 64-bit, so it can access more than 4 gigs of RAM, so it runs a lot smoother. It's prettier looking. They added a whole bunch of social stuff to it, so think it's copied Destiny in a lot of ways, but in the ways that were good. It's got the social hubs where you can go talk to people and trade and buy equipment. And
they were able to fund
and...
Peter Dinklage sounding bored.
Sadly, they did not do that. But so it's got a couple of hub world areas, and then it's got several different game modes that you could do. The one that I like the most is like a gathering mode. It's called Harvest, and you get dropped down onto whatever map you choose, and there's a vehicle that you have to protect from dinosaurs and pirates and crazed robots and things as it harvests these crystal resources.
It's money. Of course you'd love it.
It roams around the map, and once it hits kind of a quota, then you just have to protect it for evac. Typical game lasts 15 or 20 minutes. Difficulty scales depending on how many people you play with, and you can play with up to 4 people. So that's fun. They added some different things to it. For example, Orion Prelude could only really be played in first person. You could play it in third person, but the camera was really crappy, and you couldn't really tell what you were doing.
To be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing to begin with.
That's fair. But the Orion Project, you can play it first person, third person, and from a top-down view.
What about second person?
I want to see my character from.
I want to see my character from the dinosaur's perspective.
I don't think you can do that.
Oh, well, I'm not interested in this game anymore.
But in each game mode makes the game play a little bit differently. And, I mean, you can play in the same, map or in the same game with people playing different styles. So the FPS plays very much like a traditional first-person shooter. The third-person shooter plays a bit... It feels a little weird, honestly. It's kind of out of place.
Basically, it was a bolted-on feature?
I think so. And then the top-down shooter feels very much like a twin-stick shooter. I mean... If you're playing with a controller, it is a twin-stick shooter, actually. I don't know why I said it feels like a twin-stick shooter. So it's got a couple different play modes depending on your skill set. And there's advantages and disadvantages to playing in each one. Obviously, if you're playing it from the top-down perspective, you can see a lot more than someone who's in first person. But your accuracy is not as good because you can't actually aim. You just kind of point your gun in the general direction, and then it does the twin-stick shooter thing of firing. And if you hit them, you hit them, and if you don't, you don't. So... And that's pluses and minuses. Then there's the original game mode from Orion Prelude, which is just the wave-based horde mode, where you fight off dinosaurs for 10 or 15 waves.
Until you get murdered by a bunch of Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's some new kind of challenge modes. There's a few new multiplayer modes. And there's content that's not accessible until you get to a higher level. It's not like a paywall thing. It's just a level gap thing, and I'm not that level yet, so I don't know what it is. Plus, this game is in beta, early access, whatever.
It's dinosaur.
You want to call it?
It has to be.
So
two people on a Tyrannosaurus Rex with giant lances, and they just charge at each other.
That would be amazing. But there's a couple of things that it's like coming in future updates, so I don't even know what those are. But it's pretty fun.
They're coming in future updates.
Fair enough. But I mean, it's worth $1. Very easily worth $1. I've enjoyed my time with it so far. And I guess Train Fever, the other game on my list, now that I think about it, I don't know why I skipped over it. I mean, really, the only thing I have to add outside of the Steam controller discussion, which we're going to get into soon, is that I actually, in air quotes, beat the game. I got through 2050, which is where kind of everything stops at 2050. I mean, you can keep playing if you want to keep playing with your trains and building a train network, but there's no more progression in terms of vehicles unlocked. And you get an achievement for, you made it to 2050. Yay, here you go. So
welcome to the future.
For some reason, I have really connected with this game on a deep level, and I want to get achievements for it, even though I know achievements don't mean anything. They mean even less on Steam than on like Xbox or PlayStation because there's no like gamer score or anything attached to it. I just really want to complete some of the challenging aspects of this game.
So in other words, I should look for a new co-host. Wonder what Kyle's doing next week.
Maybe I should let Kyle guest host the show one time just for funsies.
Yeah, but that means
see how you two do with.
That means I would have to edit it, and I haven't had the practice on editing these files yet.
Yeah, I'll see how you two manage without me. That would be interesting. So, I mean, those are the 3 games that I played this week that weren't just me learning and testing things with the Steam controller. So, if you're ready to move on to that discussion, we can start talking about controllers.
Yeah, I think so. And how about this for the order? We probably should have done this off recording, but it's more fun this way. The Steam controller, the DualShock 4 as sort of the in-between, then the 360/Xbone controller.
Right.
Basically going from like the super advanced features to the Xbox controller with a few added bells and whistles, then kind of the standard, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the Xbox controller is the standard. You know, there's a few games, obviously, that accommodate for using a PlayStation controller, and a very few games that actually have the PlayStation controller like layout as the default. But by and large, the Xbox controller is the standard.
Hand of Fate.
I mean, I said there's a few.
Yeah, Hand of Fate. When I fired it up and I didn't have my third-party software running, gave me the PlayStation controller prompts, which was actually a little weird.
Were you using the PlayStation controller at the time?
Yeah.
I wonder if it just detects what game you have installed and goes with that. Or not game, what controller you're using. Sorry, that came out wrong.
Yeah, because on my Bluetooth it does show as DS4.
Weird.
So let's jump into the Steam controller.
Right, so the Steam controller. General overall view, I like it. I'm glad I purchased it, but I probably should have purchased it later because it's emulating a keyboard and a mouse. And when I'm sitting at my desk, I would rather just use a keyboard and a mouse. I do intend to get a streaming setup for my living room so I can play games in there or on my big TV. And when I do that, I mean, Steam controller is going to be my go-to for everything except a couple of games if I want to play them on my TV. The pros of the Steam controller, everything is 100% customizable. If you want to set up the left touchpad as a second joystick and have it mimic the right touchpad so that it's kind of like you have 2 trackballs that you're using, you can do that. If you want the joystick to become the D-pad, you can do that so it only detects up, down, left, and right. You can map any of the buttons on the controller to any keyboard or mouse input that you want. So, you know, it's got these 2 little paddles at the bottom, 2 triggers, which also have an additional button press if you pull them all the way down, the 2 bumpers. I
can do that too.
The 2 track pads, which each have button presses, the thumbstick, and then AX, BY, and then it's got the jewel in the middle like the Xbox controller does, and then the pause and the select buttons. There's just so much you can do with this thing. You can go in the options, you can play around. It's like, okay, do I want the controller? Like, do I want, for example, the right trackpad? Do I want it to, how much haptic feedback do I want it to give me? A lot, a little, in between?
Yeah, how does the haptic feedback feel?
It on the default setting, it literally feels like a trackball. I was amazed at what my finger like felt when I was using it. It's legit.
I was going into a dirty place there.
Yeah, you were. The haptics in the rest of the controller, it's got the same thing on the left touchpad, which is also amazing. In the triggers, it's got the same thing that the Xbox controller has, which is the triggers provide haptic feedback and they rumble whenever you use them. So shooting guns, they will vibrate if you've got them turned on for that and all that jazz. Outside of that, there's not a lot more haptic feedback that I've noticed, but what it does have is wonderful. I mean, there's so many customizations options. You can use the trackpads. You can emulate joysticks with them, so you can use it more like a traditional controller. That one's tricky because I haven't been able to get the dead zone right. So, like, if I move my thumb just a little bit, you know, it's like, oh, you're moving. It's like, no, I just have like just this little bit of, my thumb's kind of sliding or twitching or whatever.
Yeah.
So getting the dead zones calibrated properly is difficult. But honestly, the trackball mode is so good. I don't know why you would want to emulate a joystick on your right thumb, anyways. And then it's got an actual joystick for your left thumb, and it's in roughly the same position that it would be on the DualShock controller. Mm-hmm. So even though I'm more accustomed to an Xbox controller, I've used a DualShock plenty in my life, so it's not weird. The only thing that's difficult to get used to are the 2 extra paddles at the bottom. Normally that's just a finger rest. So if I'm getting into something really seriously, I accidentally squeeze the controller a little too hard, I'll push the button. So more often than not,
Frank.
More often than not, I just turn them off in games. I've used them in a few games, but by and large, I just turn them off because they get in my way more than they don't. And the pad has plenty of buttons on it without them. So that's the biggest pro of the controller. You can completely customize everything on it. The options are very, very thorough. Another pro about the controller is the amount of community support that it has, which sounds weird for a controller, but there's
it has a workshop, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has its own workshop, so there's hundreds and hundreds of things that you can do to it. You can download controller profiles, you can download people-specific settings for things. You can upload your own if you have something that you think works really well that you haven't seen out there. You can do that both in general, as in setups for the controller as a whole, or specifically for games, which is very, very handy for getting you started. Eventually, I think you'll just wind up customizing things on your own as you go through. But in the beginning, all of those pre-recommended and curated controller setups were really handy in getting me used to it. And it's the biggest pro of all is how amazingly accurate this thing is. I was a little skeptical. Like, you go watch the video where the guy's playing, what's the city builder? City Skylines?
Yeah.
With it, and you're like, oh, that's silly. There's no way. But I have been playing Train Fever for like 20 hours with the Steam controller at this point. Mm-hmm. And it really is that easy and natural. I've got the right trackpad set up, as the trackball, which, if you've ever used a trackball before, is, it's as easy to use as a mouse once you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
I've got A, X, B, and Y set up as the only 4 hotkeys that are useful in Train Fever, which are for the different time speeds, so pause, normal time, double time, and quadruple time speed. And then I use the left touchpad to emulate WASD so that I can move the camera around. And then I use the 2 triggers for left and right mouse click. And it's awesome. It's incredibly accurate. It's just as accurate as playing with my mouse and keyboard. It's not difficult to use, and I can just relax my hand, which sounds weird, but sometimes I get hand cramps with my hand being over the keyboard for hours and hours. I'm usually fine on my mouse. My mouse is really ergonomic, but having my fingers on the keyboard can get tiresome on my fingers. And the Steam controller holds up really well in terms of ergonomics for the most part. Cons for the controller, Steam Big Picture Mode. That's the biggest one. Big Picture Mode just sucks. And in
it's
order
not
to
made
actually
for desktop at all.
No, it uses way too much overhead. I was getting performance drops on some games as high as 20% when testing it in Big Picture Mode versus not Big Picture Mode. And sometimes that's not a big deal. Other times it's a game killer. Your mileage may vary.
I thought they made it recently so that you could access pretty much everything for the Steam controller outside of Big Picture Mode.
Nope.
Oh.
Used to, the change on that is you could only adjust the controller settings when you're in the Big Picture Mode menu, which would mean that if you loaded into a game, you didn't like your setup, you'd have to leave the game and go back to the controller settings and then go back to the game. You can now access that in-game, but only if you're running Big Picture Mode. You can use the Steam controller. It basically will just emulate a controller or mouse and keyboard, depending on what kind of support the game has for it. And it will just load up your default settings that get saved to your profile. But that doesn't always work. I tried doing that with Skyrim, and I had to launch Skyrim in Big Picture Mode for my Steam controller to to work like I had set it up to. Otherwise, it just emulated an Xbox 360 an Xbox 360 controller, which is awful because it's using the touchpads like joysticks and all the buttons are weird. So, big picture mode uses too much overhead and it's not reliable. Also, certain games don't even launch in big picture mode. Like I tried to play Halo, the 2 Halo games that I got on the Steam sale, the twin stick shooters.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't launch in big picture mode. They'd crash every time. But those games don't recognize the Steam controller if you launch it normally. So I couldn't test out.
I was about to say that that sounds like a major con is that you have to be a big picture mode, or at least Steam in general. If you have a game that uses some sort of weird launcher, especially MMO or a lot of free-to-play games will use their own custom launcher to download patches that way. That could cause problems.
Mm-hmm. Train Fever, I played Train Fever the most. I'm going to talk about some of the games that I've played with it, and I'm sure we'll spend more time on the Steam controller than anything else. But Train Fever launched fine without big picture mode, but that game's unplayable in big picture mode on my system just because of how demanding that game is. I've talked about that before. So losing 10 to 20% of my processing power when running that game is detrimental. But thankfully it works in Train Fever since it's just emulating the keyboard and mouse. So, another big con to the game, and this one I think is very personal, to the controller. I think this one's very personal to me.
Okay. Is
the actual design of it. Most of the time it's all right. It's pretty comfortable in my hand. But the one game that everyone recommended to me to play to try and learn the game, or learn the controller, which is Rocket League, is awful for me when I play with the Steam controller because... So normal controllers, the Xbox and the controller and the DualShock controller, the grips are completely angled down. So, where you hold the controller in the palm of your hands, those grips angle down. The Steam controller's grips angle up. And the reason they do that is because they needed the extra space to shove batteries inside of them because the little paddles on the bottom take up the space where batteries are normally placed in the controllers. And for the most part, it's fine. You don't notice it. But in a game like Rocket League, where I get really into it, I hold the controller more tightly, and it hurts the palm of my hand because it's angled up instead of angled down. I think that's a very personal thing.
I didn't realize that angled up like that.
Yeah. But, I think that's a very personal thing, not an actual knock against the product itself. I think that's just the way that I play and hold it. For most other games, it's fine. It also might be the shape of my hands, actually. Some other games that I have to grip a little bit differently to use different layouts on it, they tire my hand out in an hour or two. But I think that's more me than anything else, because most people say that it's incredibly comfortable. So there's not really any other downsides unless you just don't want to have to customize anything. This controller does not work right out of the box with any game because, there's so many different settings and so many different things you can do with it. For example, it's got something that I haven't even mentioned yet, which is it's got a gyro in it so that you can actually move the controller itself to do certain movements. And most people use it for FPS to kind of help fine-tune their aim because
I use I've seen several videos on this. Use the right trackpad as a very quick movement, and then holding it down and turning the controller is the fine movement to just zero in.
Right, and I hate that. It feels very unnatural to me as someone who has played video games for even more unnatural than just relearning kind of how to use certain aspects of a controller. That feels so weird to me as someone who's played video games for 2 decades, where that moving the controller doesn't do anything at all. And I just couldn't get used to it, so I just turned it off and kind of figured out how to play certain games without it. And it's fine, that's the point of this controller. Figure out how you can best use it to the best of your abilities, the way that you like to. Everything's so customizable, so I just turned it off. And I haven't had any problems with any games not using it. Except maybe shooters. That might be why I hate shooters so much with this thing. But honestly, if I'm going to play a shooter on PC, I'm going to use keyboard and mouse for the really fast reactions.
Of course.
That I don't think that you could get out of the Steam controller, even as good as it is, unless you're like
spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, spend a lot of time with it, more time than I'm willing to commit to it. So
maybe if you're coming from a controller, it makes more sense to spend that time there.
Maybe, but I prefer keyboard and mouse. So some of the games I tested with it, Skyrim, and I think that this can be applied to most RPGs with it. They're slower, and regardless of what viewpoint you're playing from, first person, third person, they're slow enough that the kind of the first person targeting aspect of RPGs won't really get in your way very much with the Steam controller. It takes a little bit of getting used to, honestly, because you have to flick the trackpad more than just move it like you would a mouse. But once you get used to it, it's fine. It plays just as well as it could without, or just as well as it could with a keyboard or another controller. So really, that one comes down to personal preference. I played Rocket League with it, which was fine, except for the fact that I grip the controller too hard. So that one was kind of bad for me. But again, I think that's more my issue than the controller's issue. I played Train Fever a crap ton with it, and that's what I used to get used to the trackpad movement. And that sort of game, I think, is what this controller works best with. Basically just emulating keyboard and mouse in a game that traditionally is awful to play with a controller. Because I couldn't imagine playing Train Fever with my Xbox controller, even if it did work, which I'm sure you could get like some program that would let it work. But I couldn't imagine doing it because being that precise with thumbsticks is very difficult. I played Factorio with it. Factorio works perfectly fine. Again, it takes a tiny bit of getting used to, but once you get past that initial learning curve, it plays just as well as it does on keyboard and mouse. Actually, I didn't mention this because I wanted to see if you would notice a difference in my performance. But Factorio Terraria, our last recording session, I did with the Steam controller.
And how many times did you die there?
A few, but I mean that's not really too much out of the ordinary.
I didn't notice more deaths than usual, but then again, I was also focusing on myself a lot.
Right. It plays well in Terraria. It's the same kind of thing as Factorio. I mean, basically, I'm just emulating keyboard and mouse.
Also, Terraria recently did a lot more functionality with controller in the last major update, if I recall correctly, or the one before it. They added a lot more, I should say, like I said, functionality with it.
Right.
So it's like the perfect time to try it with the controller.
Yeah. And then I also played the Orion Project with it, which was pretty bad. It was all right in the twin stick mode because twin stick shooter, but playing it in first person or third person did not go very well with the controller because it's a shooter. You got to be a lot faster, and I just didn't have it. Maybe with some more practice I could, but again, that's the kind of game that I would rather play with a keyboard and mouse, regardless of where I was sitting. So. I mean, overall, the Steam controller is now going to be my main PC gamepad.
Your daily driver?
Yeah, it'll be my daily driver, except for Rocket League, because of how into that game I get, and it hurts my hand to use the Steam controller.
Yeah, we do get intense on that, don't we?
Yeah. Once I get my streaming set up on my TV in my living room, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me to use the Steam controller. So I'm very pleased with my purchase.
Yeah, I think the Steam controller is made for more the big picture mode streaming setup. Just the fact that the Steam Link has the receiver built into it, and that's going to be my question. I asked you this before. Did you test to see if it's general Bluetooth or is it the proprietary dongle there?
I think it's proprietary.
Which, if you lose that dongle or damage it, you're out of luck. Because they do not sell that separately.
Yeah, my laptop and my smartphone both have, built-in Bluetooth, and I could not connect it to either of them. Like, I couldn't find it. You probably could get a driver or a program or something that allows it to work with a laptop. There might be one out there for a smartphone, too. Well, I say laptop. Anything with built-in Bluetooth. But I did not research to see if that existed. You can use it wired, though. You can use the controller wired, so... The USB plug-in is not just for updating firmware and that sort of thing.
That's really the only other reason to have that there is because I did a little bit of research on the Steam controller, and you cannot charge over that.
No, you
even
cannot.
if you put rechargeable batteries in it.
Yeah.
And you have to crack that sucker open a fair amount to change out the batteries.
I haven't had to change my batteries yet. I've used it for 20-something hours, and they haven't died yet. So.
Yeah, for everything I've heard, it's about 24 to 30 hours of gameplay, which is actually amazing on, was it 2 AA's?
Yeah, it's just 2 AA batteries.
Which that's an amazing amount of playtime for just that amount of power.
Yeah, the Xbox controller draws, well, I don't know if it draws more power or if it just makes less efficient use of it, but it only lasts about 12 to 14 hours on
that's
single
what I'm getting with
batteries.
DualShock is actually a little bit less, partly due to the light bar. I'm getting 10 to 12.
Well, I use rechargeable batteries in my controllers anyways, so they get even less than when I forget to charge the rechargeable batteries and have to put in non-rechargeable batteries. So, I mean, I change batteries every 6 to 8 hours of gameplay or of use on my Xbox controller. So yeah, that's a Steam controller in a rather large nutshell. I realized that I talked about that for 30 minutes?
Oh, sorry, I kind of dozed off there for a little while.
Whatever. All right, let's talk about the DualShock.
Yeah, the DualShock is sort of the in-between between this and the Steam controller and the standard for the Xbox controller for PC. It's essentially, at least on PC, a Xbox controller with a few added features, that being the touchpad primarily. The touchpad is able to have a left click, a right click, a double click, or a multi-click is, I think, what the programming says, which is holding down left and right, and a top click, which is pushing it down from the top. And also, in the program, I'm using third-party software because otherwise it is treated as just a generic controller with, instead of having A, B, X, Y, it's Joy 1, Joy 2, Joy 3, and you're never going to remember what those are.
Right.
So the third-party software actually causes it to emulate a Xbox controller for the most part with the added features. And it does some interesting things. It allows you, well, for one, I'm able to do a battery check. I tilt the controller up. This is completely customizable. And press the PlayStation button, which is the equivalent of the home button for the Xbox controller. And the light bar will light up green to red depending on its power level. It'll change its color, which is a nice little feature that you're able to do with the DualShock 4. And also, depending on how you set up the touchpad, you could set it up as a mouse for games that don't exactly have the greatest of controller support, like, one that I've been playing a lot recently, Stardew Valley. Its controller support is lackluster, but being able to switch back and forth from a mouse, quote unquote, with the touchpad and the 360S controls makes it a lot more bearable, especially playing on my notebook, which I would be playing with a touchpad anyway because I don't have a mouse attached to it. So it's just making it where the movement's a little bit easier. Cons, I guess I should continue on with the pluses first. It's essentially, like I said, an Xbox controller, just with the extra features, so there's not the learning curve. You're not having to worry about finding figuring out how to use the touchpads and the different modes for them. And that's really all the pros to it, because a lot of the pros from the Xbox controller applies to this, especially with the third-party software, is that it's plug and play for most games. It will show the button prompts for Xbox controllers, so you just translate it. A is X, which sounds a little odd. B is circle, square is X, and triangle is Y, and the left and right is exactly the same. It has a lot better D-pad than the Xbox controller, or the 360 controller, I should say, but just about anything has a better D-pad than that. Start and select, share in options, which is just an odd way to say it, is placed a little bit odd because of the touchpad.
Well, that's better. Sorry, that's better than the Xbox One's version, which start is 3 lines and select is 2 boxes. I never understood that. It's stupid, but that's what they did.
So the first few hours of playing with this, I would go to hit start or options in this case. That's what it's emulating. I would actually hit the touchpad because of it, because it's just a slight angle off. It's not too far off that it's uncomfortable. It's just enough to be noticeable. And downsides, this is still an upside, but it's a downside as well, is that it's also completely customizable through third-party software. Unfortunately, it doesn't have workshop support. So unless you find someone that's sharing profiles online, you're going to have to set up everything yourself. But like Jared was talking about with the Steam controller, you're going to want to do that anyway to find exactly what you like. It's just you don't have anything to really build off of except setting up a default profile to begin with and then basing everything off that. And one thing that's kind of nice is that you get set the light bar, which I actually like the light bar. I have it turned down to the bare minimum to give me a little bit of extra boost on the battery. Is that you can change the light bar's color based on, well, for one, the battery power if you want to do it full time. I'll just have it where I do a battery check instead. But you could also have it where different profiles have different colors, so you can tell at a glance, oh, I'm in my default profile, it's showing red, which is, for me, what default is. Or it's blue, it's using some sort of oddball profile. Oh, it's green, it's in my Kerbal Space Program setup, which is completely different. So it's nice to be able to tell at a glance exactly what I'm running with it. Downside is that it does take a lot of setup time, especially for something like Kerbal, which I played a fair amount with. Just to sit down and figure out, okay, what do I want all the buttons to do? What do I want? Well, I didn't touch on this, is that you could also set up the touchpad to use swipe controls. So swiping up, swiping down, swiping left, and swiping right are treated as different controls on top of clicking. But this is turning off the mouse functionality. So it's an either-or case there. And like the Steam controller, it also has gyros, but I don't use them too much outside of Kerbal. Just there, I use it as sort of like an auto trim, and I have it where the gyros are only on if I have my finger on the touchpad. Similar to what people are doing with shooters with the Steam controller. Downside, the customability, where it's using third-party software, it's sometimes a little finicky on if it's wanting to connect properly, but usually it's just unplugging and plugging back in the Bluetooth dongles what I'm using. For integrated Bluetooth, it may be a bit more painful because you would have to go and turn it on and off through the computer. But because it's using so much of old tech from the Xbox controllers, not a lot of downsides to it.
Right.
It is a bit heftier than 360 pad. Weight-wise, I'm not sure how it compares to the Xbox controller. Battery life is in the 10 to 12 hour range, but it actually charges pretty quickly because it has a very small battery on it. It's only 800 milliamps according to the label on it.
That is very tiny.
Yeah, so I have seen some people talking about botting the controller to put in a bigger battery. And because of it being a console controller, there's a lot of accessories and things you could do with this outside of, things that you wouldn't normally think of. You know, your charging stations, different covers for replacement batteries that are a lot bigger. So it has a lot of extra support that you wouldn't have with the Steam controller. The Steam controller does have an open source where the specs are out there, but it doesn't have the community around it just yet. So that is a bit of a bonus that this DualShock 4 has over the Steam controller. And that's really about it, just because it's taken so many pros from the Xbox controller. It's become my daily driver over the Xbox controller. Partly because my Xbox controller is just so worn from a decade of use.
Right. Yeah. They do that when you use them endlessly for long periods of time.
Well, let's put it this way. I pulled my 360 pad apart to try to fix an issue with it. And on one of the copper contacts, there was just this mound of corrosion on, just from age that was actually bridging the contacts and changing the resistance on the thumbstick.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, I wish I took a picture of that, actually. But it was more just trying to remember how to put it back together so I didn't break the controller.
Okay.
And also, the controller was absolutely disgusting inside because, it was a decade old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they get all gunky and stuff. I've taken apart controllers before just to clean them.
Yeah, let's just put it this way. There was a reason why some of the buttons were sticking. Just grime and dirt and yuck.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not really sure if I'm forgetting anything, but it is plug and play like the Steam controller, and it has an internal battery that's... if you want to replace it, it requires tearing the entire controller apart. It's not like the Xbox One controller. I think that has the external battery pack, right?
The Xbox One controller? You have to use AA batteries with it. The rechargeable version has a built-in battery, but the standard controller uses AA's.
Okay, I wasn't sure on that at all, so I was more asking than anything else. So,
yeah,
technically not consumer serviceable, but there are packs out there and to upgrade the battery to something a little bit more beefy than 800 milliamps. But because it's a small battery, it also charges damn quick. I haven't had it take more than an hour to charge, and I've had it down fairly low on the battery.
Right.
And it's just a standard micro USB. So, yeah, that's about it on the DS4.
Okay. Well, let's talk 360 and Xbox One controller. First of all, let's talk about the differences in the two controllers in case you don't know. They're almost identical. Xbox mostly made changes in the form of ergonomics. Like, the thumbsticks are slightly different because it's supposed to be more ergonomic for your thumbs. The D-pad is better on the Xbox One controller than the 360 controller.
Couldn't get much worse.
That's fair, but it is better. So, there's that. Otherwise, all the button placements are exactly identical. Oh, the Xbox One controller does have some haptic feedback. It's mostly in the triggers, but it is there.
Yeah, the DualShock doesn't have haptic feedback. It just has general rumble.
Yeah.
Which I generally turn down anyway, once again, to add to battery life.
Yeah, I like rumble. I love the haptic feedback for racing games in the Xbox controller, but now the Steam controller does that, so...
Yeah, well, it's not that I don't like rumble. Actually, the DualShock 4 has a fairly strong rumble to it on top of things.
That's what she said.
Oh, my.
Some other differences, actually, in the Xbox One and the 360 controller. The Xbox One has got a standard USB micro port to use for wired play on PC, whereas the 360 controller does not. It's got the weird proprietary Microsoft whatever connection that you had to have the adapter for.
Yeah, screw you over and make you spend about $20.
The Xbox 360 controller used, I believe, is a 2.5 millimeter headphone jack instead of the standard 3.5 millimeter. And then the Xbox One controller, the early versions of the controller, the ones produced from 2013 to sometime mid-2015, have a proprietary headphone jack that requires these Xbox One compatible headsets or an adapter to use a standard headphone setup. The later versions use a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack.
Yeah, my 360 pad actually has the proprietary port on it. It doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter.
Okay, so you've got the old 360 controller.
Yeah, I told you mine's a decade old.
Yeah, so those things are cons, and for the Xbox controllers, they're all proprietary. If you want to use them wirelessly, you have to have the special Microsoft wireless connectors. There's one for the 360 controller and one for the Xbox controller.
Yeah,
and on top of that, the Xbox One controller only works wirelessly with Windows 10.
Which is stupid. They are making it so that the newer Xbox One controllers have both the stupid Microsoft limited wireless, and they're going to add Bluetooth functionality to them. But I'm not sure if they're in production yet.
I did not know that. The only controller that I know of for sure that uses, well, the only two are the DualShock 4 and the Wii U Pro controller. Both of those have Bluetooth built in.
Yeah, well, the Xbox One is going that route.
It's rumored that the second version of the Steam controller is going to have Bluetooth as well.
Yeah, maybe that's where I was seeing people talking about Bluetooth with the Steam controller, because I did look for it.
So outside of that, the differences in the two controllers and the cons of the stupid proprietary stuff that Xbox does. The Xbox controller has become the standard for PC gamepads. Most third-party controllers that you buy are modeled after the Xbox controller in some way. Usually the button layout. They do different things with the design because, of course, Xbox has a patent on the design of the 360 and the One controller. So either they just kind of resemble it, or they are shaped differently. But the button layouts are copied, and the joystick layouts are very commonly copied. And it's the de facto standard for probably 95 to 99% of games that you play on PC.
It's very rare to run something modern that, if you plug in a 360 pad or Xbox One pad, really anything that uses the X input, it wouldn't give you the proper prompts.
So that's a huge plus for the controller, because if you buy an Xbox controller and use that for your PC gamepad, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be plug and play, work straight out of the box, because game developers design around the controller for controller support in their games. So that's a huge plus. If you don't care about any of this customization stuff, if you don't care about really kind of making the controller your own, if you just want to plug and play, I think the Xbox controller is the best bet. I mean, we've really covered all the other pros, and like you said with the PlayStation controller, you kept mentioning, like, well, the Xbox controller, this is copied from the Xbox controller. It's copied from the Xbox controller.
Well, that's the thing, is that when I'm using the third-party software, it's emulating a lot of stuff from the Xbox controller, because that's really the standard.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the one that we have the least to say about, but it's the one that I think most people are familiar with the most, because it is the standard. So, of the three controllers, if you really care about customization, if you really care about making the controller your own and getting the most out of your controller, the most out of your, your streaming setup, or, I mean, really just if you want to take a break from keyboard and mouse, and you're the sort of person who really cares about, customization and making things the way that you want them, Steam controller, hands down. Yes, it absolutely has a learning curve, and for the first 8 to 10 hours I was using it, I wanted to tear my eyeballs out of their sockets and eat them. But
I wish you had live streamed you learning that controller. That would have been hilarious.
Once I got over the learning curve, though, and found a couple of games that really allowed me to get used to using the touchpads to emulate, different things, I very quickly fell in love with it. I've got a few qualms about playing certain types of games with it, but honestly, those are the kinds of games that I'm going to sit at my desk and play anyway, so I'm going to use keyboard and mouse. It sounds like that the PlayStation controller is in the middle. If you care about,
it bridges the gap. I will say that where it beats the Steam controller hands down is anything that cannot run on Steam Big Picture mode or has problems with Steam Big Picture mode, and you want the customization and a few of the extra options, because the touchpad does add quite a bit, a lot more than I was actually expecting. Then I would say the Steam controller loses to the DualShock. But that's the kind of the odd middle ground. And it does have most of the customization for it. Only thing is that you can't swap out like the joypad or the joysticks for trackballs, because they're physical objects.
Right. And then if you don't care about any of that, if you just want to have a controller where you can play games with sometimes, or heck, maybe even all the time, and you just want it to work, you don't care about customization, you don't care about any of that other stuff, it's just, I want to plug this in and play games with it, buy an Xbox controller. Because it is currently at least, the standard for gamepads in the PC market.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's probably the most emulated modern controller. I mean, well, the DualShock 4 is outside of swapping the position of the D-pad and the left thumbstick. It's essentially the same setup.
Yeah. And there's a slight design difference, obviously, because of where they've got the position of the thumbstick and the D-pad. But
yeah,
I mean,
like I mentioned, the trackpad pushes the essentially the DualShock's version of the start and back buttons out towards the sides of the controller, and it's thinner. I'm comparing it to the 360 pad right now. It's thinner on the crossbar between the two handles. Mm-hmm. The handles are smaller. It's generally smaller in general than the 360 pad, but it's heavier because it's a wireless controller versus my wired controller. So that's not really a fair comparison to begin with.
Yeah, you did mention weight. The Xbox One controller is probably somewhere between 50% heavier to 75% heavier than the 360 controller. Compared to the Steam controller, it's about the same. The Steam controller is surprisingly light.
I just thought
for all the crap that's crammed in there.
The buttons, the face buttons on the DualShock 4, I don't like nearly as much as the 360 buttons. They feel a little bit weaker. If that makes any sense, they feel more toy-like.
Aren't the PlayStation buttons pressure sensitive?
I think so, but I don't have an option to toy around with that, or at least if I do, I haven't found it in the third-party software that I'm using. Right.
So yeah, there we go. I mean, I don't really think that there's a clear best one. They are the Steam controller and the Xbox controller are best at what they do, and the PlayStation controller is a great middle ground for someone who, doesn't want to take the time or the energy to invest in the Steam controller or doesn't care as much about it. They like some customization, but not too much.
Yeah, or want a few extra controls and don't mind using third-party software.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned, about 7 extra controls that you could do right off the bat, not counting using a mouse as the touchpad, because that is very useful in certain games. And it does have the gyros as well, like the Steam controller does. And the third-party software allows a lot of customization on just how sensitive those are.
Yeah. So there you go. We did an actual piece of in-depth discussion content on our show.
We've done that before.
Yeah, but every time it happens, it feels like the universe is going to crash down around us. Because normally we're all about snark and bullshit, and here we are doing something really serious in the video gaming world. We're giving actual consumer advice. I just made a really crazy hand gesture when I said that. I mean, nobody can see it.
Which works great for an audio podcast.
Yeah, nobody can see it, not even you, because we don't have cameras. Okay, well, with that in mind, I think it's time to move on to a news topic that will probably bring out a lot of snark and bullshit in us.
Yeah.
Which is the Counter-Strike Go gambling thing. Now, normally we would just launch into it, but we received an excellent, very thorough letter from Chemist giving a great overview of this topic.
Yeah, he actually sent me a message on Steam asking if we were going to talk about it, and I said it was on the list, but even if we weren't going to talk about it, to send it in anyway. And it does appear Chemist is very excited for this audio letter.
Yeah, so...
I'm going to have to ask him to see if I could share that photo.
Nah, don't ask him, just do it. Just do it.
I'm very tempted to, but I'm trying to be a nice guy.
You brought it up. You have to say it now, or you have to use it. But yeah, so here's Chemist giving us a nice, thorough overview of the topic that we're about to dive into.
Greetings everybody, Kmis here again. I normally don't give two shits about YouTube drama and find it annoying when everyone hops onto it just to say, look at all those bad people and make themselves look better in comparison. However, because what happened within the last 24 hours of me writing this goes so deep and can potentially have significant consequences, I'll make it an exception. And it's not often that you get to report on a literal illegal gambling ring. So, for those of you who don't know, Valve is getting class action lawsuit filed against them. The reason for it is that in some of their multiplayer games, most notably Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Team Fortress 2, you can spend real money to buy in-game random item drops. This model can be scammy enough, but it isn't all that uncommon. Valve's case is different though, because Steam also has an item marketplace allowing you to sell those items to other players for real money, with Valve taking a cut of every transaction. This is a problem. Within a single company's ecosystem, you can spend money and potentially win a lot more. That's the very definition of a lottery, making it illegal in most of United States, especially without a gambling license and a proper enforcement of age gates. I won't get into whether those laws should or should not exist, but currently they do and therefore have to be honored. And in case Valve loses the lawsuit, they will have to completely rebuild their business model regarding those games, either getting rid of the random drop microtransactions or not allowing them to be traded on their market. But it gets worse, because as time goes on, people see a lot of money changing hands and try to get their own share of it. So they created websites where you and other people can send your in-game items to a common Steam account, run by a site's bot, and then a randomly chosen winner gets all of it. Even without the ability to directly translate the items back to cash, this is literal gambling. Again, it could be potentially legal if it was properly licensed and regulated, but it wasn't. And with Valve's API allowing those transactions to happen, they are also partially responsible for them, especially since those websites do not violate Steam terms of service. And it gets even worse. Because one of those websites dealing exclusively in CSGO items called CSGO Lotto has for the past half a year been heavily promoted by two popular YouTubers under the names of Pro Syndicate and T Martin. Moral quandary of promoting gambling aside, they never disclosed any relationship with the website, despite there definitely being some, which is explicitly illegal under USA Federal Trade Commission and similar laws in many other countries. To their credit, they weren't technically ever sponsored by the website. They own it. Unfortunately for them, the FTC also requires them to disclose that, and there are additional laws forbidding shareholders of gambling establishments for participating in said gambling due to high risk of them fixing the odds. Point well proven by Tim Martin, who was seen on a livestream logged in as one of those bots accounts that were supposed to be fully automatic and neutral. So, as everyone included goes into full panic mode, updating descriptions, unlisting videos and spinning PR bullshit on social media that is instantly proven false by re-uploads of their own videos and web caches of previous statements, I'm pondering on the potential outcomes. As much as I'd like to see Valve being forced to take some actions, I am really looking forward to the YouTube side of things. FTC disclosure violations are the bread and butter of industry drama, and it would be nice to finally see someone getting slapped for it. What we actually need is YouTube itself cracking on those who fail to obey the regulations, similar to how they are legally required to carry out the AMCA takedowns. Let's just hope they don't leave it as open to the abuse. Kmis, signing off.
All right, thank you, Kimis, for an excellent summary of the situation. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't really know how to start, honestly, since he kind of took away how we were going to start.
Okay, how about this? Shit's fucked up, yo.
That is absolutely correct. This is a topic that I feel like is being, like, not beat to death, but it's everywhere. This is such a big deal.
It's being talked about on the BBC.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, there was a BBC article about this. This has turned into a major, major deal. And I'll be shocked if this doesn't pull down if we don't look at this 10 years from now and see this as a tipping point for government regulation to come into online gambling with video games, or them to look at these loot boxes more closely. Because I'm probably going to cause some trouble here, and I'm probably going to get yelled at from Kyle. But I do want to lay some blame at Valve, but not for the reason that a lot of people are blaming them for setting up the API that all these sites are using. Because I don't think Valve ever envisioned this to happen with this API. But I think Valve set the groundwork for this with the crates. And I'm pretty sure Valve, if they weren't the originators of the entire crate system to begin with, they were one of the early adopters that really pushed it into the mainstream with Team Fortress 2.
Sorry, let me just jump
sorry,
in
go
here real
ahead.
quick. I don't know the exact history of that system. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I do know that it originated in China. Valve very well could have been one of the first kind of adopters in the West of that system,
Okay.
but it has existed in China and Korea and other Eastern, mostly Asian gaming communities since the late 90s.
All right, so it's probably Valve was one of the first in the West to do it.
Yeah.
I want to say that Valve set this entire idea of risk with these skins, and to begin with this crate system, it set sort of the mindset that you're not guaranteed to get this. You're already gambling, so why not gamble some more?
I mean, it is technically under the definition of the legal definition of gambling. It's not gambling, but
Yeah.
really, it's gambling. And the thing is that this is
Total
mostly...
Biscuit mentioned something in his rant, which if you haven't listened to Total Biscuit's rant, the rage in his voice is palpable. It's the angriest I've ever heard him, and this is including hearing him rant when he got videos copyright strike.
Yeah.
It's amazing just how angry he was.
I know that you're not the biggest fan of Jim Sterling, but I've watched quite a few,
it's just
YouTube
his
personalities
character.
discuss this. Jim Sterling, I think, has the best summary of everything that has been going on. Total Biscuit, I mean, he had a very good summary, but he was angry. He was very angry. And, that's allowed, especially given Total Biscuit's history and what he stands for and, integrity in journalism and all that jazz. But Jim just kind of has a more... not exactly standoffish, but it seems he's a bit more neutral in the situation. Not that he's endorsing the gambling and all of that, but it's very much like, okay, here's what's going on, here's my explanation because people have been asking for it, and here's what I think. And so I think that he has the best explanation of it of the people that I've seen.
Well, I'm going to have another video in the show notes that is sort of a breakdown of and showing video clips of these two jokers, which I'm not going to give names, partly because I don't remember their names and partly I don't care, actually lying in their videos. Bald-faced lying, saying that we found this site. You fucking own this site.
Oh, you mean Pro Syndicate and T. Martin?
Yeah, those two assholes.
Yeah.
And then there's these assholes.
Which, that's illegal. That is illegal to be the owner / proprietor of a gambling organization and participate in said gambling at your organization. Because...
Well, that's against...
being able to tip the scales in your favor. That's illegal.
Yeah, and there's some people on Reddit that's been talking about losing to them when the site showed that they won. There's a few reports of that. But what the mind-boggling thing about this, and where they're probably going to really get in trouble, is that they've been marketing this to children.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, their terms of service, at least in the United States, I'm not sure how it is in other places. And it's probably impossible for me to know how it is in all other places because, it's all other places. You have to be 18 to gamble. That's pretty much the flat thing across the board. There's some differences from state to state, but I think 18 is pretty much the standard in the United States. The terms of service said that you had to be 13.
So another way that they were breaking the law, I didn't realize that their terms of service, said you had to say you were 13.
Yeah. It's just so fucked up.
This is a bad situation in more ways than just the fact that they were lying about all of this and probably I'm gonna go ahead and use the term allegedly scamming people. It all has to go to court and all of that before we can legally say that they were scamming people. So allegedly scamming people, all that jazz, that's all awful. But this calls into question this system. Whole system
using
in the
their
United States.
YouTube popularity and their Twitch popularity to promote this. On top of just the general lying is just just abusing their audience.
Yeah, but so anyways, what I was getting at is this calls into the whole system into question within the United States, because normally I hate government regulations on my things. I'm pretty laissez-faire with most things. You know, I'm very much, hey, you do your thing, I do my thing. As long as nobody hurts anybody, it's okay. But I think that it's time that the U.S. government comes in and creates some legislation based around this stuff in the United States, because this is a product of the old laws not working in
Not
the digital
keeping up
world.
with the modern world. Audio letter for Kyle later says exactly that.
Yeah,
for something that we talked about last week.
Yeah, I think
But this is once again the same thing. And I remember, I don't recall if anything ever came from it, but I remember late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of video poker sites popping up all over the web, and the same thing happening. The owners flat out lying on YouTube, because YouTube didn't exist at the time, but there was a lot of questions about the odds.
Yeah.
And you're going to these sites, and you have no idea if these are legitimate at all. There's no way of knowing. And CSGO has gotten so big that they actually block it from being gifted during the Steam sale. Just flat out, because of hackers, because of the gambling and everything else. It has gotten ridiculous.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they blocked actually a couple games. I know Civ 5 was another one, the complete set, but that was mostly because of people selling it third party because they were able to get it cheap due to owning parts of it.
Right. So yeah, I think this is a product of old legislation not keeping up again with the digital age as things change, and I think that we really need some government regulation to come in here and tackle some of these problems, because I've said this before, these kinds of mechanics in this specific case they're gambling, and gambling is an addictive thing anyways. But
part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this was, I know this is outside of your realm of expertise, but you could also but I imagine you've learned a bit about the process of gambling in the mind.
Gambling is an addiction just like anything else that can be addictive. It's people who have, for starters, people who have low inhibitions really like to take a chance. It's like, oh, one more chance, one more big bet. This could be my time to hit it big.
Just one more turn.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong game.
Then on top of that, gambling, gambling machines, gambling, whatever they are, they're
set up as Skinner boxes.
Yeah, they are. They're set up as Skinner boxes. There's a certain release cycle that every once in a while, regardless of who stays on the machine for how long, they'll give you a big payout. Plus, they're designed to be enticing. Flashing lights, patterns that have been scientifically studied to lure people in. They're fun and things like that. And so they just kind of create this like, oh, this happy thing happens when I, pull the lever, so to speak. There's a lot less of that now in modern gambling, but it's, I pull the lever. And
have you ever seen the Pachinko machines in Japan? How just nuts those are.
Yeah. And so they're all designed to keep people coming back. And very slowly, over time, for most people, an addiction forms. It's like, oh, hey, I could go do this thing, and it's fun, and it releases feel-good
and you
endorphins in your brain.
Win it big.
Most gambling machines are designed in such a way to try and create your brain to release dopamine and oxytocin. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone in your body that, when you're what a lot of addicts turn to get their high, what alcoholics often turn to keep them coming back. Dopamine just makes you feel good. And a lot of chemical substances jump up the amount of dopamine that's in your system. Gambling machines are designed to evoke the same things a bit more naturally. Again, light patterns, sounds, things like that by and large make people feel happy. And it's a lot slower usually than, say, drinking or drugs are hit or miss and how long it takes to form that addiction. But that's where the Skinner box reinforcement comes in. Like, oh, one more, this might be my chance to win big. One more, this might be my chance.
I just won a little bit here. I'll put it back in and see what I get here.
Yeah, exactly. So, all of those things are designed to reinforce the person building this addiction coming back to gamble. And it works the exact same way with online systems. Free-to-play games use these psychologically addictive, assaulting mechanics all the time to keep you in their ecosystem. For example, the daily reward systems in a lot of games, same thing. They don't give you jack, really, compared to what you can get when you spend money. But it's like, oh, if I keep coming, I got this little thing, Maybe, I spend some money, get this bigger thing.
Or I'll log in for 90 days and get a gun.
Yeah. Or, a lot of systems have, actual, like, roulette systems where it's like, oh, get a spin on the wheel and get a prize in the game, a gun.
Yeah, Shop Heroes had that.
Yeah. And, that's a gambling mechanic that's designed to keep you coming back. It's like, oh, if I had, taken this one more spin on the board, maybe I'll get this thing that's better. And it all just is very slowly building these chemical reactions in your brain that make you attached to the thing that you're doing, which is gambling. I mentioned oxytocin before, which I kind of skipped over. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone that releases whenever people connect to one another. It's a little bit more.
So what's
reserved.
your oxytocin to me?
I have a lot of oxytocin that's released over the last few months attaching myself to you.
Oh, my.
Oxytocin also makes people feel good. That's why women's brains flood with oxytocin after they have a baby. It's to build a connection to this thing, which is which has caused you pain and misery for 9 or 10 months. And
it's going to do so for the next 18 years.
Yeah. And it happens to men too, but it's a much slower process. And that's the chemical genetic reason for why the saying is, women become mothers when they get pregnant, men become fathers after the baby's born. That hormone starts secreting in women's brains much more frequently when they're pregnant and after the baby's born. And men, it doesn't happen at all really until after the baby's born. So you've had a history lesson from me, you've had a psychology lesson from me, and you've had a biology lesson from me. I'm on my game tonight.
So. Yeah. Who the hell are you?
There is a ton of regulation in certain Asian countries that regulate this sort of thing. Others less so. So it's kind of hit.
Yeah, I think in the United States they really cracked down on just video poker and left pretty much everything wide open. They did a very targeted attack, which is actually very strange for the U.S. government. They tend to be very vague and very broad and ban things that they don't intend to.
Yeah. So, is it raining?
Yeah, it's raining here.
I can hear that. That's all right. It's soothing. So this is.
Put in a scan and we'll see what the weather changes to next.
But I think this is an area where this whole thing has just been a mess ever since it came out.
Yeah, and it's just gotten a bigger and bigger mess just as more information has come out about this. And it's absolutely disgusting to see two very, very popular YouTubers who just abuse their audience. There's really no other way to put it. It's just... I think people should have realized something was up just from the sheer number of videos that they were doing about this and how often they were winning. Yeah. Granted, that could have been, a little bit of video editing, and the amount of money that they were putting in was just astronomical, and they were not disclosing any sponsorship either, if I recall correctly.
They mentioned once or twice in some research...
possibility of getting a sponsorship, not that these videos were sponsored, which would lead you to believe that it was their own money that they were putting in. And okay, you may be getting YouTube dollars, but you are putting in a ton of money. You're not getting that many YouTube dollars. That's not the PewDiePie money.
Yeah. And even with video editing, if you're actually doing this for real, you're definitely losing on your spread.
Yeah, because gambling sites, they're not there for charity. They are there to make money. There's a reason why there's the saying, the house always wins. Yep. Because gambling games, on the long run, will pay out to the house all the time. It's just the fact how much the house has the advantage based on the game.
Yep. When you're gambling, the house only has to get you to 0 once. Once you go down to 0, you are losing. Statistically in the long run, there's no way to recover from getting down to 0. Once it happens once, they've got you, and they win. And getting down to 0 happens very quickly in most forms of gambling. If you're really good, skill can make up for it in poker, and that's about it.
Blackjack actually has the smallest house advantage, as far as I know.
Roulette has the smallest house advantage. 0 and double 0 nudge it in their favor, like 40.
Okay, I thought it was blackjack, but it's both of them have to be very small margins. I think blackjack is only a couple percent.
Roulette is like,
but it also depends on the style of blackjack and the number of decks in the shoe.
Yeah, it used to be a lot better for blackjack, but they've started adding and rotating more decks through to lessen those odds. That's an attempt to keep people from counting cards, to lessen the advantage of counting cards. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. Oh man, gambling is fun. I like gambling. I always whenever I go gambling though, I always have one. It's like, okay, I've got this much money in my pocket. When it's gone, I'm done. And if I can make it last all night, then I'll just gamble all night.
And you leave the credit cards at the hotel room.
Oh yeah, no, I never take a credit card with me. I'll either get one of the preloaded cards at a casino or just like go in with cash, because they take cash.
Yeah, of course they take cash.
So
they're designed to take cash.
Although it's been a while since I've been gambling. I went to Vegas a couple of years ago. That's the last time I've really gambled. I won like $200 or $300 at blackjack, and I was like, all right, I won a couple $100. I'm done.
Well, I've known a few people. I'm getting back around to video games who just go nuts on the crates. There was one guy in my old Highlander team that just spent an obscene amount of money trying to get an unusual, which an unusual hat is basically a hat with a particle effect. I mean, that's literally all it is. And he spent more money trying to get any unusual than he would have spent just buying it on the market outright.
Man, that's crazy. I just don't... I'm not the kind of person who does that sort of thing.
I've spent money on a couple of crates, but it's mostly just not going in for any particular thing, but more just, oh, I enjoyed this update, I'll throw in a couple bucks.
Yeah. I'm not saying that. I realize what I just said might have sounded a little inflammatory. If you're a grown adult, you spend your money how you want to. Don't let me tell you how to do it. I'm not the personality type that understands that sort of thing. So it just seems odd to me to do that. But that's just me.
The crate system?
Yeah. I just don't.
Or going for a particular thing that's a 0.5% chance at $2.50 a pop.
Specifically that. The crate system, it's like, oh, I've got a little bit of money. Why not? Let's roll the dice just for fun every once in a while. I completely get that. I do that sometimes in mobile games. But specifically, like, spending tons and tons and tons of money trying to get one item that you could just buy on the store anyways, like, I don't understand that.
Yeah, and something that's interesting about this entire situation that we didn't really touch on is that Valve is actually getting sued, a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, they're
unrelated to this, by the way, as far as I could tell. This just happened to happen at the same time. Because these sites are using the API designed by Valve. And I'm not sure the legality on this. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about it next week.
Yeah.
If we don't, I'll be surprised. Or Kyle will be sick.
I'm done talking to you guys about this stuff. Figure it out on your own.
At least he's wanted, right?
Yeah, we want you around, Kyle. You explain things to us that we don't understand.
Which is often a lot. Especially when it comes to legality. And we've had a lot of legality topics lately.
Yeah.
But Valve is getting sued because of the API, and that there's a way to cash out by doing a third-party selling, and you start getting into some really, really gray market stuff, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. Partly because it's risking your Steam account, and also it's very easy to get scammed. There's so many horror stories of people just losing a item that is market value several $1,000s, which just blows my mind that a single item could be worth that much.
Yeah.
A virtual item, a virtual golden frying pan. The first one sold was, it was over $6,000. I can't remember the first how much it was exactly, but it was well over 6,000. It was by far the most expensive item in TF2. It's just amazing,
man.
And CS:GO has gotten it even worse. They built it up from day one with this system. And I want to say these markets, they're more trouble than what they're worth for the consumer. For Valve, it's great because they're getting a lot of money from these market transactions.
Oh, yeah.
Hell, even just during the Steam sale with the Steam trading cards, which they're just printing money at that point. It's just obscene how much money they're getting.
Yeah.
And that's probably the reason why we don't see Half-Life 3 is that they don't have to make it. They're making their money off the Steam market.
Yeah, why make a game and sell it when we can just make a gajillion dollars off of everyone else's games? And I mean, from a business standpoint, absolutely, that makes total sense, but it's got its downsides too.
But bringing it back down to the two assholes, I'm almost wanting to put in a new commandment because of these two just talking up their no, I'm sorry, not their site. It's the site that they found when they coded it and made it.
Okay, what's the new commandment?
Trust but verify. These were put out as promotions, even though they weren't disclosed as promotions. It's okay to listen to these YouTubers, and I'm going to use this as just a general example, but it could really apply to anything. The hype for a video game, or even us, especially us. We can be wrong, and we are often wrong.
Yes, we are.
You could trust the information that you're given, but do the research yourself as well. Look into it. Don't take it on blind faith. Trust, but verify the information. What do you think?
I like that. Thou shalt trust, but verify thine found information. So it is written. It's now. I
it shall come to pass.
Yeah, I've now added it to our list on our notes.
I'm glad you like it.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, it applies to a lot of stuff. And it probably should have been the first commandment. Okay, maybe second after thou shalt not pre-order.
That thou shalt not pre-order is definitely the first commandment. No questions.
I think a part of the reason why everybody's so pissed with this, especially YouTube creators, is just that it's proving old media right. Where they were talking about how the YouTubers will just kill their own audience. They'll sell them out because they're not held liable. And they're being proven right by these two assholes. It's very infuriating to see someone that successful turn that greedy.
I mean, that's pretty common, sadly.
Yeah. So is there anything else that we didn't cover? We covered underage betting. We covered how they're probably in a whole heat of trouble with the FCC. That they pissed off everyone, that they've created a new commandment.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that we need to add.
I will be linking an AMA that 3 video game related lawyers, and yes, that is a thing, by the way.
That's amazing.
They mostly work with esports teams. They had an AMA actually today on Reddit. So actually delaying a day paid off for us. But I'll link to that. And it has some interesting information in them talking about this situation and how it is fucking highly illegal. Okay, not their words, but mine, but yeah, close enough, right?
Yes.
So I think we beat this horse very well.
Yep. Beat it to the ground, and then kept beating it. And then we killed it, and we beat it some more.
And then we made a promotional video about it, but didn't disclose it.
And then we beat that to the ground.
And then we just sat in our chairs and went...
All right. Well, that means it's time to move to the community corner.
Yep.
I don't know why I said it like that. And before we go on, I need to take a quick break. My dog needs outside. All right, so let's head over to Community Corner. We had 2 letters this week. One of them was Chemist, which we've already had in relation to our big news topic. The other one comes to us from Kyle. So here's Kyle.
Greetings, J. Arthur and Caffeine Rage. This is Kyle coming at you about, well, the legal matters that you requested. So basically, you wanted my opinion on the whole Activision versus Spiral Studios debacle that's come up lately, and realistically, I can say that this has a lot in common with basically any situation that got escalated because both sides are bound by rules of engagement. See, while Spiral Software may have done some things that could be considered scummy out of context and, well, also in context, they actually have every right to defend their ability to sell their product, especially if they think that they have a case where copyright infringement is not being invoked. Put simply, if they think that, in this case, the gun models in question were transformed enough and basically just inspired by the ones in Activision's Call of Duty Black Ops 3, they could actually just make the case that, yeah, they were inspired by Call of Duty 3 and Activision should shut up and be grateful. But on the other side of the coin, Activision is bound by their copyright to go after these people. And a copyright differs from a trademark in a few ways, but basically, if they chose to let this slide, it could be seen as legal precedent, and anybody could basically rip off their gun models carte blanche without fear of legal repercussion. So what does all this mean? Well, this is going to sound a little South Park of me, but both sides are kind of right. Activision thinks that by using what they think are the assets from Black Ops 3, that Spiral Studios is violating their copyright and making money off of the hard work of Activision, whereas Spiral Studios may have just remixed all the pieces of the guns into something else that was inspired by Black Ops 3. And the DMCA takedown on Steam was seen as, well, basically corporate vandalism. They lost profits. Now, how much they lost, who knows? That would be determined in the court of law. And I believe it was Jared who said in the last podcast that this court case, if it ever went to court, would be very interesting. And hashtag agreeathon. The fact that Activision has to aggressively defend its copyright, and the fact that Spiral can't really remake a gun that looks even close to similar to a gun that was in another game, just speaks to how out of date that our copyright laws are. So really, this isn't a failing of any of the two companies involved. These were rules of engagement set in motion by the legal system that has yet to really catch up with art in the digital age. So what does all that, mean for video game development in the future? Well, I don't know. Something's got to change. It's the Hegelian dialectic. It's the antithesis of old copyright laws that aren't equipped to deal with digital art versus the need for new copyright laws that can actually deal with the idea of remixing. Anyways, those are my 2 cents on it. It's a very cut and dry reason that these two are going to court against each other that will result in a very complicated and, well, necessary court case that may very well come to define what it means to either copyright something digitally or rip it off or remix it. Needless to say, it's going to be interesting, and I'd like to hear y'all's opinion on this. Anyways, have a good night.
And that was Kyle with another another rousing legal discussion for us. As always, Rage has taken notes on the letter, and I have listened to it and have a vague remembrance of what was said.
Yeah, and hashtag agreeathon pretty much. Mostly, it's very interesting that how copyright is set up, or trademarks in general, I should say, where you have to be so aggressive with it. But I do understand why. But it really kind of stifles things when you think about it, because you hit fan projects with DMCAs or cease and desists, and that just kills the project, because they don't have the legal team to try to say, well, can we license this for $1 so that you're technically protecting your copyright, but you're allowing us to do this anyway. I do completely agree that the laws need to catch up with the internet, but I'm thinking that by the time they do, the next big thing will be out, and I have no idea what it'll be.
Yeah. I am sad that this isn't going to go to court. It
would have been amusing.
Yeah, very quickly, the makers of Orion, which is Spiral Studios, caved, and we're like, okay, we're just going to change it.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, well, they basically pleaded guilty online.
Yeah.
I believe they passed the bucket and said that it was a third-party designer that did it, or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember reading it, but I didn't read it in depth, or at least well enough that I remembered it completely. But they were passing the buck quite a bit.
Yeah, they were... I think you're right with a third-party developer. I feel like they eventually came and said, well, we have farmed this part of our design out to a third-party developer in China or something like that. And so they designed the assets for us, and we just use them.
Oh, well, see, there's your problem, because China always respects copyright.
Yeah. I liked that Kyle, was like, actually, it's not so much like who's right or who's wrong. It's like, this is just what the steps these companies have to go through. And essentially, it seems like Spiral Studios deemed it not worth their time to fight it, regardless of who was right or wrong, or who would be proven right or wrong in court. I think
I think they saw the writing on the wall that they had no chance of defending this. Even if everything that they said was true, and it was a third party that designed these guns, they couldn't defend it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm still, on the side of supporting Orion with what they did, and not, not just completely writing them off. But, I mean, it would have been a tough case for sure.
Part of my reason for writing them off is just their history in general. They've done some scummy stuff in the past, and, it makes me leery of them to begin with.
Right. I mean, ultimately, they deemed it not worthy to go to court, so we'll have to push this one down the road a little bit farther for someone else to get into this.
Yeah, I think whenever this goes to court, this is going to be almost as amusing as Hulk Hogan versus Gawker, but not quite.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a 3-ring circus.
And, I mean, that's pretty much how legislation is going to get pushed through. That's pretty much how it almost always works. You get a big, high-profile court case where a precedent is set, and then based on the precedent in court, the law is created around that.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be 2 AAA studios that does it, though, because, honestly, any indie developer that is gone after, unless it's 2 indie studios, which is always a possibility, they're just going to cave.
Yeah.
Because who would, in their right mind, go up against Activision unless they were 110% sure that they were going to win?
And even if they were 110% sure they were going to win, they might not do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because even if they are, going to win, they could get bogged down in legal procedure for months,
and just be
years.
Bled dry.
Yeah, and they just can't compete in terms of money.
Yeah, unless their lawyer's doing it pro bono, which why would they at that, against Activision or, some other major studio? It's going to have to be, just 2 major powers that butt heads that causes this court case to eventually happen. And it's going to be amusing as hell when it does.
Yeah.
And scary. because it could really change things, possibly not for the better. So, shall we move on to tweets, or do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm good. Let's move on to tweets.
Okay, well, the weekly question, which I probably should have had people explain why, but I just put up a poll because, I was trying out the new Twitter polling feature, and it turns out Twitter polling feature isn't exactly great. It's because I can't schedule that. I have to do it manually. Oh, Twitter. Why do you suck so much? But I asked, was Activision in the right for the DMCA takedown of Orion? Not the claim itself, or well, not going after Orion itself, but the full takedown. And we had 3 votes on it, which for our listener base isn't bad. We had 33%, that's one person saying yes, and 69 or 67% saying no.
69, what do you got on your mind, sir?
Well, I glanced over my completely useless timer on my phone.
Right.
Oh, why did it roll over 99 minutes? Well, I know why it rolled over, because it doesn't have a hour place, but I'm going to have to find a new app for that. And I assume that there is one, because there always is.
Yeah.
And we had a comment on that poll saying, well, that was easy by Groove. Maybe I should have voted on this just to make it a nice 50-50, but well.
50-50, yeah.
Well, also, the poll was only open for 24 hours because, Twitter bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so going down the tweets. Million Lights. I didn't send in the audio letter, or did I? No, you didn't. And did we skip him again?
What do you mean, did we skip him again?
Oh, no, we didn't. No, you still didn't send
No,
it.
yeah, he didn't send us an audio letter. Unless it got caught by spam for some reason.
I'm pretty sure I checked that. I'll go check it again real quick. We have no spam here. We do have a lot of very sexy spam, though. We have no letter from Million Lights, but we have sexy spam.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, Million Lights, feel free to send that in at any time. We'll just cut off the moldy part.
Yeah,
or
it's
we'll
always
just use
relevant.
it for penicillin. All right, AG Scott. Would like a Steam controller. Still not available in Australia. That was a response to you posting that you got it. Groove in response to the podcast release. Can't wait for it. Just ran out of podcast. Well, you had 3 hours more podcast, and you'll have some more in just a couple of days.
Yep.
Chemist, original plan was to cover gimmicks in the entire history of video games. Glad you covered some points I had to skip. Well, I was glad to help there.
Yeah, we're still relevant and important.
Woo! Ghost Shark. Next time you have a show during a Steam sale, I'll listen to it after the sale is over. 2 hours till the sale ends, and you hooked me with some more stuff. Yeah, he got Shadow Warrior and Call of Juarez Gunslinger. 2 very good FPS games. And let's see, Kyle. Yes, I will talk about Orion Project. The issue is a bit more cut and dry than you may think. And, well, we've already heard that.
Yep.
And that's the community corner.
Actually, I did have one tweet that I forgot about until you mentioned Ghost Shark. He sent me a tweet that said, oh, and by the way, kneecap. Like, we were having a conversation about something else, and then it was like, oh, by the way, kneecap.
Which means I'm going to have to do that from now on.
I forgot about. I was like, I looked at that for a minute. I was like, what is he talking about? And then it hit me. I was like, oh, you and your stupid code word that you made up.
Hey, it's not stupid if it works.
I guess not, except it's still stupid.
It amused you, didn't it? What you figured out.
I did have a laugh about it. Like, oh.
So that wraps up that, and we're moving on to the Steam Weekly Sales picks, and we're doing something different this time around.
Yep, since the actual Steam sale just wrapped up and we talked about many, many, many games, we're actually
and honestly, the Steam Weekly Sale this week kind of sucked.
Yeah, it did suck. I mean, the sale
it would have been
weekly.
weekly, as in a week sale, instead of 7 days.
Yeah, the little sale after the big Steam sale is always crappy, and it's partly because it's, it is kind of crappy, and partly because it's like, well, I just came off of a huge sale with every...
Yeah, and also, nobody has money left except me, where I'm waiting for RimWorld in like a week.
I've like $1 left.
Well, I've been selling my Steam trading cards that I know you desperately want.
Yeah.
And also grinding out some more trading cards. Actually, while we're recording this, I just got 5 more trading cards to sell.
Yeah, I see that. It says that you are in-game right now. So I'm assuming you're running the...
Yep.
Yeah, so...
It actually is running Rise of Nation right now. I honestly had no idea what I was running until I looked.
Yeah, I need to go ahead and run mine and get some more trading cards, but I'll do that later. So yeah, you had the bright idea, and genuinely bright idea, not sarcastically bright idea.
Oh, no, you're being sarcastic as well.
To create a Steam group for the podcast so that we could have a recommendations list and a way to manage some other community things.
Using the curator system. Yeah, it's one of those things. I was sitting around on July the 4th, looking at different curators. This was just before the Steam sale ended. I was looking at curators like, okay, where's some more curators that I could pick up to see what good games to look at? And that's like, curator. Huh. Wait a minute. Why don't we have a curator?
Yeah.
And it's one of those ideas that I paused and thought about it and thought, I'm fucking stupid for not thinking of this months ago.
Oh.
So our Steam group, and this will be added regularly to the show notes as well, is steamcommunity.com/groups/VGL podcast. And if you find, well, at least me on Steam, it's my default group now. So it's on my profile, nice and easy there. And I imagine Jared may do the same.
Yeah, I will do the same. I should change that. Actually, which I will do that later. By the time,
but just search VGL podcast and you should find it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, VGL was already taken, so I had to do the podcast. But it does line up with everything else. Well, at least everything that I've set up. And what we're going to do for the curator is every week we'll add the games we played and the games that we picked from the Steam sale. Obviously, this week we will just be adding the games that we played. And creating a master list of the games. And each one of us will list the games and assign the recommendation with their name. So you'll know who wrote that.
Yeah, and I'm looking over your games right now, and there's several that I also would recommend, even if you put them. So I think for games where we actually both recommend them, we will put both. Or maybe Jared/Rage.
All right. Well, it'll have to be both because some of those I run very close to the text limit.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just slightly more. It's just slightly more than than a tweet. It's like 150 characters, 155.
Yeah.
And why they have 155 when they have a big window for it?
I don't know. Yeah, I was like typing. Like I didn't realize there was a character limit when I was doing my first recommendation. I'm like typing. I was like, is something wrong with my keyboard? Did the batteries die? Is it? And I realized like, oh, there's a character limit. That's just stupid.
But we it's also going to have a forum, and we'll probably run the next giveaway that Jared does, which would be a great segue if I was finished here.
It would be, but it's not, and we're going to point out that it's terrible.
And I should feel terrible.
Yeah, your segue is bad, and you should feel bad.
Oh, trust me, I already feel bad. But thankfully, the ibuprofen's kicked in.
Okay. Anyways.
But forum, and we'll run events through it, and I'll have all sorts of fun. I've already sent out an invite to one Patreon donor. Unfortunately, I don't have the Steam ID for the other Patreon donor. Otherwise, I would have sent out both. So, the other patron, please send me your Steam ID so whenever we do things like this and send out early access to them, I'll be able to include you as well. I feel terrible for having to ask, but I looked and it's just, I can't figure it out. And I'm pretty sure Jared can't figure it out either.
Yeah,
I'm not alone here.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, but it is open to the public, of course.
Yeah.
This isn't for patrons only or just for us. This is a completely public group. And if you looked at my profile before this podcast came out, the week of the 4th of July, you would have seen it. So it's not like I'm hiding this or anything. It's just I was throwing a little extra treat. Getting in early.
Yeah.
But everyone is more than welcome to join.
Yes, indeed. And is now the time to segue to the whole thing? Okay.
Yeah, and we will be running our next giveaway from that, at least having the deadline from it.
Right. So I got a little overzealous when I was buying games for the giveaway, and I have 9 left.
I think you expected a bigger turnout, but also you had a 48-hour window.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't expecting a gigantic turnout, but I was expecting there to be a little bit more than what we got. But again, I waited and did it the second week instead of the first week where people would have had more time and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So I've got 9 games left over that we're going to be giving away, and I'm not 100% sure how I want to do this yet, but it is going to be in the VGL podcast group.
As soon as you figure it out.
Yeah, as soon as I figure it out. I don't know if it's going to be like announcements or discussions or whatever, but by the time this comes up, I will have sorted it out and posted the actual post regarding how to enter and how you can win and what you can win. So go check out our Steam group and get a chance to win games. Let me just kind of tell you what games I have left so you know what you could be playing for.
I'm actually trying to bring up the your inventory, but it says inventory is not available at this time. Please try again later because fuck you.
So I've got a couple of copies of Project Orion. I've got never mind. That one's been weird. I'll have to check that actually. That's okay. So I've got a game called Postmaster, which is like a management game where you manage the post office for a city, or the postal service for a city. I've got Planets Under Attack, Meridian New World, Freight Tycoon Inc., which is like Train Fever except for trucks only. I've got Detour, which is a little puzzle game that we've talked about in the past. I've got Caster, and I've got Amputee.
That's one of these games that have deliberately broken controls for the lulz, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's really silly and funny. So, and then there will be more giveaways in the future, particularly around the next Steam sale. I will probably purchase a couple of more expensive kind of AAA-ish titles.
And we'll be doing this on the first week of the Steam sale.
Yeah. But so I'm going to run we'll run at least one more giveaway. I mean, basically I'm just going to run a giveaway until they're all gone. Is I think the gist of what I'm going to do. And once they're all gone, then no more giveaway until the next sale, and we can get some more games to give away.
Yeah, and I would highly suggest giving at least a week this time around.
Yeah, I'll be better about that. I mean, this is my first... Well, technically it's my second giveaway because I did this once for Kerbalcast, but...
Yeah, but Kerbalcast, it has it has a lot longer period now, but it had a longer period between episodes. So it didn't, the deadline crunch didn't hurt nearly as much.
Right.
And also Kerbalcast has a lot bigger listener base, but we are growing.
We are growing, yeah. Since you mentioned that, I have to do the obligatory check of the numbers.
Well, I could always break up my YouTube numbers because for some reason I'm seeing a huge spike in my YouTube account. I'll see what my last listener was, or for the podcast.
So only
12 listens on the podcast, which is actually really good.
Nice. So only on FeedBurner, not taking into account iTunes or Google Play. So this is just stuff where people have listened to us.
Wait, do we still have the clean tag for on iTunes?
I don't know. I haven't checked in a while. But we've got 1,057 listens, not including anything on Google Play, and that doesn't count the subscribers from iTunes. So, 1,057 listens across our entire podcast. For our last episode, we had 50 listens, and according to this, we reached 6 new audience members, and there were a total of 45 subscriber downloads.
Yeah, so we're doing really well.
Yep, we're
Yeah, and I'm
gaining traction.
I'm trying to figure out my total count. Episode 0 of VGL, I think, has the most views at 40 on my channel. Oh, the one with Kyle, or at least the first one with Kyle, has 39.
Let's see. Yeah, you have more.
This must be so interesting, listening to us just talk numbers.
You always have more people on your YouTube views than I do. I think you're either better at titles or better at tags, or both.
Well, I also have a larger channel to begin with.
That's true. You've got a little bit larger channel than I do.
Yeah, I'm running at 117 subscribers right now.
I think I have 67.
And in the past 48 hours, I've had 160 views across my entire channel. And I broke the 10,000 view mark.
Yay!
Oh, this will make you disappointed. Video number 721 is where I break my streak. It's not a round number.
No.
But then again, I keep my streak up for 720 videos. So that is a round number.
I only had 5 views on the last podcast episode. Sad day.
Last podcast episode. Oh, this is going to be so much fun editing this, isn't it?
Yeah. You forget I'm lazy.
Last podcast episode, I had 12, like I mentioned. I forgot I mentioned that until I looked at it again. So, seeing some growth until we sat down and talked for 5 minutes about podcast stats, and we just lose everyone.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine.
Or fast forward. Oh shit, they're still talking about it. Fast forward.
So yeah, back to what we were talking about. In quick summary, we have a Steam group now. We have a curator set up.
Yeah, which the curator is getting populated. I went through the last probably about 6 or 7 episodes and added my recommendations and played. We're going to do it for our own games that we've talked about. That way I'm not trying to figure out or remember what Jared talked about on Caster, for example.
Yeah. So I will go through and do that, but it will probably
during the weekend.
Yeah, it'll take me a little bit longer to do that just because I have things going on during the week.
Like editing this monstrosity.
Yeah. And, seeing clients and doing all that jazz. But
and sitting around in your chair going...
Yeah, I will. I'll get to it though.
So, does that bring us to our closing things and talking about our stuff on our channels to begin with?
I do believe that brings us to our ending segment.
Okay, well, why don't you go first?
All right, so let me pull up my YouTube page here so I can discuss some of the things that I've got lined up. I've got 7 days worth of content already scheduled. Couple of streams that are very recent. These aren't old streams. These are actually from the last week. I've got several Rocket League videos that I have made with just us. Whenever we played the last couple nights, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to record this and then use it. And then there's several episodes of Terraria that are up or are going up, depending on the date at which you are listening to this. Obviously, the podcast will be up on Friday. I've got my Factorio Supercut video, which I mentioned what seems like forever ago, that has been used for background footage until I have used it all up. And I've put it on YouTube, and I'm going to basically fill it with commercials. And if you want to come support me on YouTube and give me some cash, because you don't have any to give me on Patreon, which is fair, just go and watch the video. And your cents, as in like 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent, will add up eventually.
Yeah, assuming AdSense, and that's cents as in, your 5 senses. Doesn't frown upon that practice.
They might.
We'll see how it goes.
But so there's that. I have more Terraria videos that need to be edited and rendered and all that jazz and put up. But like I said, I think last time, basically I'm only doing videos now that are things that I find fun. Just because, time constraints.
Which is why I quit a series.
Yeah. And the work that I'm able to put into it. So, as frustrating as it might be, I don't really have a regular content schedule anymore. It's just like, oh, that was fun. That was good. Let's put that up and do that. So that's kind of where I'm at. The podcast is the only guaranteed regular thing most of the time.
Meanwhile, I'm completely OCD about my schedule.
Yeah.
To the point that it's color-coded.
Yeah. I do like your color codes. I mean, if I had more time to do this, I would be a little bit more OCD and schedule-oriented, but I don't, so I just do it for fun.
Wait, you're a YouTuber for fun?
Yeah.
What type of half-ass backstory is that?
One punch. So, yeah, you can find all of the random stuff that I post on YouTube over at Gaming Psychologist on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitch at JMA4707, where I am pretty much tweeting every day, usually multiple times a day, about things, some of them video game related, some of them not. Like the thing that Rage keeps referencing, I posted a tweet today that I had a client cancel and I was just sitting in the room making fart noises with my mouth for like 15 minutes.
No, you have to do the actual noise.
There you go. Doing that for like 15 minutes, so. And then I stream over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/jarthur4707. I mean, we stream basically whatever now. Again, that used to be a lot more regular, but we enjoy playing different games. It gets kind of stagnant playing the same game over and over and over again. So me and my crew, which consists of Rage and a couple other friends that we have, we play stuff on Wednesday and Friday. And then if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can find me very easily in our Steam group. But for some reason, if you want to be my friend and not join the group, then you can just send me a friend request. My Steam username is jarthur4707. I'm basically just blindly accepting friend requests now and hoping that it doesn't get me in trouble. I will talk to you at any time if you want to hit me up, but I'm not going to give you my account or credit card information, so don't bother with that.
But you will give psychiatric help for Steam cards.
I will give you psychiatric help for Steam trading cards. I'm a cheap date. What about you, Rach? What's going on for you this week?
Well, I actually had the scheduler screw up on me last week, so I'm actually going back to usual operations this week. Basically, Terraria, I had it set the right day. The scheduler didn't fire, so Terraria was a day late for me. Even though I did schedule it.
Oh my gosh, Terraria is a day late. What are we going to do? Good Lord, it's the end of the world.
I'm going to end up like Jared.
Weeks late.
And then for some reason, I guess I was just half asleep when I was doing it, and I got 2 videos backwards, so it went B, A, C for the end of my rotation. And it was just an off week for me. But for some reason, my view numbers shot through the roof. Maybe I should screw up my rotation more often.
Just because you're screwing around, huh? Huh?
Do I look like I have a plan? I just do things. You okay over there?
Yeah. My throat's getting a little scratchy for some reason. I probably should make some more hot tea after this.
But this week, I'm breaking my 700 video streak and dropping a game like a hot potato. For good reasons. And I'm picking up Victor Vron, and it's taking the A slot, which will be actually being put out the day before this podcast goes out. So, an interesting switch from JRPG to ARPG. Still in the RPG genre, but something a little bit more fast-paced and with hopefully less stupid spiky-haired kids. What?
I'm very sorry. You have to see this GIF.
Oh God. This is going to be an airplane or Trump.
Neither?
And Chrome doesn't want to load it because of an extension screwing up, and I'm going to have to go fix that. And why didn't you not wait for... Damn. Well, he just rolled up on that fight.
Yeah, the GIF is of for those listening, is of two women fighting each other. And this person who's like a triple amputee rolls up on their hover scooter and just like starts wailing on one of the women who's fighting. It's amazing.
And technically body slams.
Yeah, definitely body slams. I'm sorry. That was just like, I always have Reddit open in the background and occasionally check on things. And I went over there and I was like, what in the world is this link that they have got? It's amazing. I'm sorry, I completely derailed your discussion. There might be some editing involved.
Yes, you did. And there won't be editing involved.
There might be.
But let's see. Victor Vaughn takes over the A slot after I drop the last remnant like a hot potato. The interactive adventures of Dogman, Dosa, and Pizza Boy continues. Things are actually picking up in that game. It's a very interesting point-and-click adventure. But I've talked about that in length quite a bit a few episodes ago. Very LucasArts feeling. The story I'm not 100% sure on, and the voice acting is very hit or miss depending on the characters, but I've been enjoying it. And then I do Terraria with this other guy, don't know who.
Yeah, he sounds like a total asshole.
And that goes on Wednesdays and Saturdays. We have the podcast on Fridays on my channel. And then on Sunday, I play something completely and totally random that sometimes is actually good or at least decent. And sometimes it actually generates views.
Only sometimes.
And boy, when it does, whew. It's actually one of my Sunday samplers is like number 2 on my channel.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a game that I did on just a whim that I had no idea if it would take off or not, and boy, did it take off. But yeah, the Sunday sampler is usually something completely random, and since I'm in the summer slump, who knows what I'm going to play, because right now not a lot of games are coming out, and that's what I typically did was pretty recent indie titles. So we'll have to see what comes out on Sunday, because I don't even know at this point, but that's the fun of it. And you can check all that out over on Gaming with Caffeine Rage. Or you can see me tweet random things on Twitter at Gaming with CR. Unfortunately, it's not random enough for me to just sit around and go...
You could. You just choose not to.
And I completely forgot to give Jared's password for this week. This week, if you contact Jared, the word is Tootsie.
Oh, you are a glorious man. What is there like a reward or something for using the? I mean, you're the one who created this. You have to define what happens with it.
Simple. It amuses me.
Okay. All right.
But there needs to be another reward beyond that. I mean, really?
I just was curious. Like, do the people who send me the code word get some sort of reward?
I have no idea. That's up to you. I'm just here doing this for my own amusement.
All right, fair enough. Maybe I'll think of a reward. It won't be anything major. It'll probably something really stupid, potentially offensive, but
especially with the word Tootsie.
It's just a funny word to hear you say. Tootsie. Oh, okay. All right. Pull it together.
Hey, you thought it was stupid, but you're laughing.
I am laughing. It's funny.
And you thought you were going to get away without a code word this week.
I was not going to say a thing about it.
But I don't stream other than hanging out on Jared's stream. And, well, that about wraps it up for my stuff. So I think it's time for our thanks for the Internet Archive for unknowingly supporting us. Because I don't think they would support someone that just sits around and goes... and chuckles at the word Tootsie.
It's not just the word Tootsie, it's your delivery of the word Tootsie. And your voice. Your voice and your delivery helps.
For once, my voice is worth something. Well, outside of Biff putting it on a pedestal, which... Putting a voice on a pedestal is very difficult.
It's easier if you rip out the larynx.
Ow.
Oh. Anyways, carry on.
If you wish to contact us, and I guess the code word could be used there as well, you can do so at vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming-related topics, or just saying the word Tootsie.
Dang it. Oh, okay.
You okay over there?
I can hold it together. I cannot laugh.
Sure you can. Or you can just tweet us at VGL Podcast. Our Patreon, if you wish to support us financially, is over at patreon.com/VGL Podcast. And you can find our RSS feed over at videogamelogicpodcast.blogspot.com. And we're also on iTunes and Google Play. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Tootsie.
I did it. I didn't laugh.
Okay, I guess it's worn off. Oh, well. I guess we found out how amusing that word is. I'm going to have to come up with something for next week.
You're going to have to come up with a list.
Yeah, I'm just pulling things off my desk for now.
All right.
Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and you can find his work at incompetech.com. And
as his music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. You know, I taught my kid how to say bye-bye this week. So now instead of saying goodnight, he says bye-bye.
But while we were on our break and I was poking around Reddit, I found some breaking news that we're going to have to add.
Right.
I mean, there's just no way around it.
Right. So this is how we're going to do it. We're not going to re-record the opening. It's just going to be in the show notes. And when you get here, it's going to be breaking news.
Mostly because you probably don't want to add in a little bit of things in post because you're already editing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be pressed for time. Normally I have 2 days to do this. I've just got 1.
Yeah. Our whipping boy is trying to grow up. Evolve has been removed from sale on Steam because it's going free to play. Because they're desperately trying to get people to play that steaming pile of shit.
Woo! I actually would. I would play Evolve.
It's probably worth at least a try, but it's going to be interesting to see what the model they're going to use this. It's going to go into beta tomorrow from when we're recording this, so it'll be going on Thursday the 7th, at least according to everything. But it's interesting that they haven't given up on Evolve. Honestly, I would have expected any developer or publisher to just write off the PC version of this game because it has had under 100 players for a long, long time.
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me for Evolve to go free to play. It's already set up for it. I mean,
yeah,
there's so much like DLC and
yeah, I imagine that there's still some work that they had to do to this, but it's. Are we going to have to officially change Whipping Boys to Battleborn now?
Maybe. We'll see how it turns out. I mean, it could be a disaster and somehow make it even worse.
What, will they have negative players? How could they make it worse?
Who knows? I wouldn't put anything past them.
was trying to back out of the way.
Oh, damn.
Trying to get clear and end up knocking it downrange again.
Well, I'm just trying to screw up their shots
That's it.
now.
There you
That's
go.
it. Well,
I
yeah,
wish
it's
you could
pissed
see
off for that, at
me
least.
just bumping this guy back here.
What? Are you roughing the goaltender?
Oh, he's on the wrong end
I'll hang back.
pitch to be the goaltender.
Oop.
Ah, just a little too high for me.
Ah! Crap, 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 crap.
Ooh.
Ah! I got creamed.
That's what she
Like
said.
one?
Nice.
Well,
Vengeance.
he knocked the ball and I knocked him.
No.
There you go.
Yeah, Jared, what happened there? The view was blocked by the ball. I couldn't see what happened to you.
Oh, he ran into me and pushed me out of the way.
I think I might have taught him that.
What the crap was that?
Since when did Jared get good at this game?
Like 2
Maybe.
minutes ago, apparently.
The apprentice has become the master.
Spaceman on this steel
I
ball.
was trying to fly.
Either this is a fluke, or I've just went from sucking to being good right
I
before
got
I'm
the
about to go to bed.
No! Oh, you
I don't have any
can't.
boost. I
Oh.
couldn't go up to get it.
Sorry, I had to get a kill in tonight.
There you go.
Nope. Too high. Still don't have any boost.
And I was at a bad angle.
That was that was a steal.
You know,
I totally stole that.
that kind of was. You pushed me out of the way.
If these guys stick around, I'm going to play this again.
Oop.
Ow.
Nope, too far to the right.
Like politics?
Wow.
Go on back downfield. May center. No,
Nope, I missed it. I hit it the wrong way.
Good job.
Maybe my moment in the sun is over.
Your 15 seconds of fame.
15 seconds is all it takes to score 3 goals.
3, you're at like
Or
4.
4. Well, I mean, really only 3 of them should count. I definitely stole that last one. Oh, that's in.
And Spacemans.
Trickle that shit in.
Yeah, and they haven't got AFK, so I'll just destroy them. Oh, it's just on street too.
Keep cussing.
First touch. No! Wrong way. No! Stop it. Stop it.
That fucking cat.
Alright, I'll hang back.
Alright.
Oh, you stole it back. That evens it up. Well done, sir.
Mine!
I'd have been really pissed if you'd have pushed it out of the goal.
Oh man, I would have been so pissed too. Stop! I worked so hard all night for a freaking win.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what just happened there. What just happened?
That went in right before I touched it.
Wow.
That was complete luck, but I'll take it.
I was gonna go for a second one. I think you owe me for like another dude from the other night.
I think it should depend if these guys stick around, if we call it or not.
Woo!
And I end up noticing another ground. Okay. I
Well,
think
the two co-op guys left.
we're bound.
And
They're all
well, it's
bouncing.
actually
said, fuck
it was
that.
two co-op. Sorry, two pairs. So I guess that's it
Yeah.
for the night.
Yeah, I gotta call
Yeah.
it tonight.
Late. Well, that was fun despite
It was.
the ass whippings.
Yeah.